Welcome back to our Grown Experiment. We're here with the Burley Farmer, Tom and Dan. So can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves?
You want to go first, Dano?
Sure. I'm Dan. I got dragged into this crazy nonsense a couple of years ago by this lovely gentleman here. I didn't do as much research as him, and what we do is we do high-intensity urban farming. I grow tomatoes mainly and peppers and things like that, but I've learned a lot from this guy here. You?
My name's Tom. Grew up on the East Coast, specifically PEI. Was more so of a meathead / tradesperson for a long time. Then the excess amounts of cardio led to excess amounts of YouTube. And here we are. I learned a lot from YouTube and I put it into practice. And, 6 seasons in.
6 seasons in. Fucking hard to believe now.
We're not playing games anymore. So.
Well, I see the connection there from the meatheading, right? Because you're concerned about your food when you're lifting weights, right? And you're a meathead, which means you drink.
Yes.
That's where the beer comes in, right? Yeah. So you gotta have the balance, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you guys drinking there?
I'm drinking Third Place. It's actually a very great beer. It's a
Who's the brewer?
It's Upstreets, actually. There we go.
Okay.
Street Brewery.
Where are they from?
Beer. It's kind of like a mango-ish fruity beer. It's a very good beer. Used to be a seasonal thing, and now it's all around.
It could have been because we started buying flats of it, too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
I actually, like a lot of people don't know this. I haven't said this publicly anywhere before, but I haven't had a drink since April 24th. So I am drinking a non-stout right now.
Okay.
Just kind of a self-challenge to myself to go a year without booze because I drank probably 10 years worth of booze in the 5 years we've been farming, so it was time to just take a break.
They almost go hand in hand way too easy.
Yeah,
so.
It's a little too easy. So.
Yeah. Well, no, I know that for sure. Like for me, when I'm gardening in the backyard, what I love to do is have a beer, and then you're out there trimming tomatoes or whatever you're doing out there. You have a beer, the sun's shining down. You get thirsty, right?
Yeah, you sure do.
And even though the garden hose is there, water's never the option.
Yeah, it doesn't quench right.
No.
Well, it doesn't have the electrolytes, right?
That's
right.
true. Hey, that's
need
a positive. I like that.
Right. So, and you guys are talking about high intensity urban gardening. So what's that mean?
So the urban side is using, our biggest goal was we don't actually own any of the land we grow food off of right now. We're using unused parts of our town. So lawns that used to be mowed, now we're using them to actually surplus large amounts of food. We didn't start that way right off the hop. We kind of used a small part, but we wanted to kind of learn before we really jumped into it. So we're only on a eighth of an acre right now. We're working up to a quarter, but we grow roughly 7,500 pounds of food. And the high intensity is we rotate our beds as quickly as we can. So we always have a surplus of other plants, seedlings ready to go. And the way that he organizes everything, which is like these crazy charts, is you're never growing the same thing in the same bed twice in a row in that year. You're always surplusing from a root to a lettuce to a legume most of the time, something to balance the nitrogen, things like that. So we're trying to get 3 yields out of our every bed every year.
It's not always possible.
No.
And when we say bed, I guess we're talking the stereotypical Jean Martin Fortier 30-inch market garden bed, right? So we, I think I can consistently get 3 rotations typically out of a bed if we have it set up properly. But yeah, that's the high intensity part. Like it doesn't stop ever.
No.
We're never planting something one day and leaving it. There's always multiple plants to do.
Multiple beds to flip, multiple beds to, and even if the product isn't fully ready, you're trying to keep on a pace, a schedule. So you maybe give it a couple more days, but you always have seedlings that are just itching to kind of get out of their cell and move on. So you're really trying, it's as much as you want to crunch the numbers, it's a big number game. It's literally the way to look at it.
Yeah.
So Tom got really good at it, and that's part of all his knowledge and reading. He just read up on it, and he came to my house one day, gave me a beer and a joint, and we fucking started literally just hashing shit out. And he goes, "We can farm this." I was like, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but okay."
And I was like, "Listen, man, there's this Curtis Stone guy in BC, man. He does it.
Does this?
We were a $500 seed order, and we went at it. We farmed dirt.
We did. We were dirt farmers the first 2 years.
First year we farmed dirt, but
yeah.
Oh my God, dog.
Did you have to get permission to use those lands? Like, how did you go about doing that?
The land beside you was pretty easy. We just asked the guy. He wasn't really using it for anything. The spot at the mount, though, where our greenhouse is that we always post about, we pay our rent there and food donations to the seniors' facilities at the mount. Mm-hmm. So we have a deal. What was it? 600 pounds of tomatoes?
500 pounds of food a year. And we gave them 250, almost 300 pounds of tomatoes, plus like cucumbers and things like that. And then the main agreement was originally squash. But instead of working with the landowner, we're working with their kitchen more. So we're trying to provide the kitchen with things that are useful that the people, the residents will actually eat and things like that. So, yeah, it worked really well this year. Going that route, we were able to give them the surplus so they weren't actually wasting anything.
Well, that's awesome. Like that's like the perfect kind of like symbiosis right there, right?
It's how it should be working a lot in this world.
Yeah, it's the ideal situation, really, especially for excuse me, we didn't want to put a lot of money into this getting started, and our goal has always been to not go into debt. And we had to scale how much bigger we get every year based on how much money we make. And we haven't gone into debt, and this will be our first year running ourselves. We'll pay ourselves something this year for the first time. So, that's ideal.
We've just reinvested into the program, our company, essentially.
Yeah,
for the past couple of years.
The farm's eating all the profits every year in order to get bigger.
We just get free food out of it come the end. But yeah, exactly. We get good free food, so it's really hard to beat.
Well, yeah, and it's learning the process, because that's really interesting how you're focusing on that kind of that volume there, because you were saying like some plants aren't quite ready, but you got the next seedling, so you're focusing on getting that new thing in. So it's a volume in a different way kind of thing. Because with me, we have a greenhouse, and the idea was to extend the season. So I have like tomato plants I'm growing over a long period of time, right? Where I'm trying to like get a lot off that single plant, whereas you guys are kind of rotating a series of crops through to get that volume. So basically, can you go a little more into how you do that, the rotation?
That's your field.
Essentially, it's not rocket science, right? I found a chart, and I don't have it with me right now, but Jean-Martin Fortier uses a chart in one of his presentations he does when he goes visiting around to different farms, and it had the days to maturity of like average varieties of all the crops, and it also had a number that I've never seen before, which was the days in cell. So the days in cell number was the ideal amount of days that, let's say, your broccoli wants in its cell after it sprouts, before it gets hardened and goes out. So using those numbers, you can kind of backtrack back, and then once you've progressed your first rotation through your bed. So for example, in one of our beds, we have a full crop of broccoli. It starts April 2nd from seed in the greenhouse. It hardens off May 20th, and it goes out on the 1st of June. It's chief broccoli, so it's 65 days to maturity. It's going to be ready the second week of July, roughly. So I know to have a crop ready within that 2-week gap for when that broccoli's coming out. And in situations, because we've all grown broccoli, or maybe you haven't, but it doesn't all come ready at once. It's not like beans where you can go and pick it every week or every day. Broccoli's going to give you, 30-foot bed. You got 40 heads. You're going to get 20 1 week, 20 the other. So ideally, those transplants, since we are no-till, once the broccoli comes out of the ground, or you cut the head out, you cut it down at the base really low, and then you start transplanting right where those broccoli leave, and you're always filling your bed back up. It's never empty. We never want to see beds with nothing in them or nothing seeded. So that's the goal, like to keep plants churning all the time. We don't have a big window. We have a better window than when we started.
We do.
We have a 145-day season here, roughly.
Good old PEI it's a very short window.
Yeah.
So you really have to be ready.
So we try to be ready to go like fields full May 20th on last frost, and we don't stop until the weather makes us, essentially
late September. Essentially,
we can keep planting until late September. And that's another thing. Like, we've never even got into the depths of using like row tunnels in order to extend like in bed specific areas. So we're kind of revolving around the first and last frost. So we're successfully doing 16 weeks high rotation currently. So if we were to add row tunnels on both ends of those, it's not unrealistic for me and Dano to be able to push, 25 weeks of produce out of PEI on lawns, essentially.
Yes, on lawns. It's just a little hard when you have full-time jobs already and you're doing this on the side. It's
So you were saying like an extra 10 weeks there, so that's an extra 2 months and a half really you're adding on there, right?
Kinda, yeah. If we could keep, because you got to think, like, you get into certain varieties of brassica and certain varieties of spinach, some quicker varieties of carrots, beets,
you name it.
You could push an easy 5 extra weeks of a CSA using nothing but those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even the greenhouse, we do vertical tomatoes ourselves. So our greenhouse is only tomatoes and hot peppers. And we grew, our longest tomato this year was 18'6", and the amount that we got was about 752 pounds on 350 square feet. So we're just slightly over the 2 pounds per square foot of tomatoes, and it's because we do the whole vertical thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same idea as you. You want to use one plant to get as much of a yield as you can off of it. Right?
And I guess that's it. Like, it's not all high rotation. Like,
no,
we try to put pumpkins down for the fall because it looks nice in the farm stand. We try and do some corn somewhere, even though it's not really worth any money. It's just the things to make sure the stand has everything on it that people come looking for, right? Because exactly. we're a farm stand essentially at the end of a driveway, and we don't do farmers markets, so it's just the stand and a CSA. So we need people to have a reason to stop by and not have to go to the grocery store and then pick up a few things with us. We want them to pick up a few things at the grocery store. Like, go get your soy milk at the grocery store, get your vegetables here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do just peppers and tomatoes in the greenhouse?
For higher yield, basically. The tomatoes, when you have indeterminate tomatoes and you do grow them vertically, the amount of tomatoes you can actually receive off the plant is incredible. The bigger plant will produce bigger sets of fruit, larger fruit, things like that. Set a new record this year. Before, we did vertical tomatoes outside, and the largest cluster of cherry tomatoes I've ever seen is about 36. This year, I hit 72 cherry tomatoes on one cluster of arms. So it's because your plant gets so big, it can bear that much more fruit. Now, it does have a lot of other factors. Does it have the right water? Did you feed it the proper nutrients? Things like that. So that at the time when it goes to bear that fruit, it can. And those are, sometimes they're freaks too, but it's insane how much in such a small, tight area. And we also, the whole greenhouse isn't full. We took the first about 20% of it and we turned it into our seedling house and our little workshop area. And we host a workshop every year. We try to teach people along the way, try to show them that a salesman and an ex-plumber can do, grow your own food as well. We've tried to inspire people, more or less than anything. That was
yeah, you're right.
Wasn't just to turn this into a business, to show that people can do this.
Yeah, I just thought that was cool because that's kind of what we decided to use the dome was just tomatoes and peppers. Yeah. So I was like, there's something there.
There is. You will get the best yield out of it.
Yeah.
And you push it an extra month. Where are you guys from? Where are you at?
Ontario.
We're in Sudbury.
You may be a little warmer than us, maybe, but you're in the same kind of idea. Because of that greenhouse, you probably get an extra month or two at the end towards the winter.
And even the beginning.
And
really.
even the beginning.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Well, yeah, we got to plant kale and spinach.
Yeah, we're going to do some cold crops right now.
Yeah, because we already started our pepper seedlings. We started the seeds, I mean.
Nice.
And then we're going to start the tomatoes soon.
Yeah.
Because we want to get those kind of in there a little bit earlier, too. But, and we got a few varieties of them. we kind of, I think we got 20... Yeah, we got 10 different 10 tomato plants and 10 pepper plants. And we got two of 5 varieties.
Yeah, nice. We didn't want to go fill it up too much because that's an issue we've had before. So we're like, okay, it's so hard to just plant the 20 seeds. I was like, I want more, but
we did the same thing last year. We
had
9 varieties of tomatoes and 31 types of peppers in our greenhouse. Yeah. And that was way too many peppers. Yeah. Way too many peppers. It's nice having that big variety. And we only do super hot peppers, actually. We don't do any bells or any sweets or anything. It's only the really hot peppers that we grow in the greenhouse. Everything else we found grows really good outside.
Yeah, the bells grow great outside.
So we just leave them out there. But
if you're looking for a really prolific green pepper, the King Arthur is a great pepper
one
to grow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's a big growing plant, and then how big are the peppers on it? And
It's a good size, bell pepper, but like also,
they're monsters. You can get
it does really well in the late season. Like you're gonna get that second harvest of peppers off it, which is what you're really looking for when you're extending your pepper season. Like you want to get two sets of bell peppers off,
two sets of flowers, two sets of everything off it.
Okay, so peppers will kind of do almost like two kind of flushes, almost like they'll produce a set, and then they'll kind of do they veg a little bit, or then they just right away start the next set?
Exactly, they go right back to their veg. They grow a little bit taller, and then they produce flowers again.
And they try to. They
try.
try their best.
So it's
right.
If we had a couple in the greenhouse, we would get a couple more bell peppers come the end. But a super hot pepper just takes so long that. We lost a lot. We tried to grow them in our field, out in the field, but the cold almost got to them before a lot of them could finish ripening up. So we were trying all the tricks: cut them, hang them, leave them on the plant, rip all the leaves off, you name it. And some of them worked, some of them didn't, but it's nothing like just having it in the greenhouse and then just harvesting.
It's also not the same as a vine ripened pepper,
Yes.
I guess you could say.
Yeah.
The heat isn't there, the crunch isn't there,
Yeah.
the juice isn't there.
Yeah.
It's not the same when you hang them to finish them. I
No,
guess.
it's not. They're almost soft and stuff. Yeah.
So with the hot peppers, I'm guessing that's the long season must be they come from a really hot climate, sort of naturally, right? And that's what you're trying to sort of mirror when you're growing them. That's why they need a long time, or how long do they take even to kind of run their cycle?
Well, our seeds are started now, and we'll nurse them inside once they come up till May 20th when they go in that greenhouse.
Yeah, roughly.
And then it will be September before we start cutting any pods off, really.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 140.
They're much longer than our season.
It's
much longer than our
180
season.
days on some of them.
Yeah.
And I find some peppers, dependent on how extreme or how different they are, they take longer. If you get a cool jalapeno cross, you're probably not over 85 days, even though you may think you are, because it's exotic, but it's not the same as when you're dealing with an apocalypse scorpion or something, ridiculously hot. And for the record, our peppers are all bred in, the seed is bred in Ontario.
The Pepper Merchant.
Merchant, Mike from the Pepper Merchant.
Great guy.
Great fellow.
Yeah, that's cool. We got our seeds from a local person who sources them from
all over Canada. Yeah, Northern Wildflowers.
Nice.
Cool.
There's a great big pepper farm in New Brunswick too. They do nice work too.
Something interesting I learned about hot peppers this last year. It's the cold evenings that actually spice up a pepper. It's the extreme shocks back and forth that end up making a pepper hotter and hotter. So never knew this, but we in Canada can grow hotter hot peppers than most spots because we have such cold evenings coming the end when they need to ripen up. Yeah. Weird, right?
So
the weirdest things grow hot peppers down south, right? That's how it works. No, they do, and they can get much bigger plants and higher yields, but they can't get as spicy as ours because of that one.
Well, you could also get a bigger disparity in temperature, right? Say in the later part of the season, your greenhouse could say get up to 20 degrees, and then depending on how much you let the air in, you could get it down to 5-10 degrees or whatever you want to do, right?
Shock of the plant that gives
exactly, and you can control that environment a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's kind of cool. I always thought hot climates is how you got super hot peppers. And it's not. It's the shocking of the plant.
I guess if you think about it, though, if you were into somewhere really tropical that was kind of close to a desert, deserts get fucking cold at night. So,
yeah,
if you had a hot pepper in a desert climate, it would probably hurt somebody.
Yeah. Do the exact same thing. Probably all the scorpion names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, that makes sense, right? Because that's exactly that climate that's exactly where you get that huge change where it'll be even 40 above, and then it'll be 10 below. Not 10 below, but it'll be it'd be 10 degrees or a little less.
I think some of the deserts, in Egypt, do get down to almost zero at night. So
right.
That'd be wild going from like the sun and
I
the
was gonna
heat
say
down there.
50 to that.
Yeah, to 0. Like that would do something to
That's
you.
a swing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking too, like maybe it's a self-defense mechanism for the pepper a little bit, because like the pepper wants to propagate its seed, right?
Yeah.
And so like it's already in a stressful environment, and the more stressed out it gets, the more the plant doesn't think, right? But it's like, oh, I really have to pass on my seeds because this is like
My whole
it's
job.
pretty hard to live here, right?
Yeah.
And if someone comes along and eats me, it's gonna pay for it, right? It's got that bite to it because you assume that it's gonna get spit out right away, and then hopefully the seeds, where the plant's already growing, they're gonna start to grow again, right?
Yeah. That's true though.
That's the goal. Like
Yeah.
that's what all of them are trying to do. That's what every vegetable's trying to do, I guess, at the end of the day, right? So some things do it quicker than others. So
So why hot peppers?
they're fun as hell. They're the coolest looking things to grow.
I agree.
Love the look on people's faces when they come, because we've shown it on our Instagram. We have these little baskets that are filled with peppers on our farm stand, and there's always the one that's jammed. The whole top is full with
Spicy,
super hot peppers. And people will come by and be like, "Can you just walk me through this basket?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go down. Let's go for a trip to hell. Come on, let's go."
Yeah.
And they always get a kick out of it. Like, "I don't think I want any of these. I'm going to go with jalapenos." It's like, okay, me too. I had fun talking about them. That's all that matters.
We love eating them too. So
Yeah.
pretty much every Friday we would have a couple beers, take turns, cheese and crackers, and start cutting whatever new hot peppers we had.
Yeah.
That's it's nice to really know, because then when somebody asks you, what does this taste like?
Mm-hmm.
There is a certain level though, right? There's like
They don't taste like anything after a million.
Yeah,
Scoville.
it's
I
just
don't care what
pain.
anybody
That's
says. It just hurts.
Yeah, it really does just hurt. Some of them are so evil. What is it? Chaos chocolate? Is that the one I'm thinking of this year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one that looked like it was
So we
radioactive
grew
when we
one,
cut
and
it
it
open.
actually looked kind of good, but then it's like that smell, and we all ate it. But it was one of the ones that almost tastes like poison. Like
Yeah.
there's certain ones you have flavor and this and that, but like this one was just
Toxic.
horrific. Yeah,
It was toxic.
we haven't eaten it again. Won't eat it again, probably.
It's
That
bright.
reminds me of you ever see that Simpsons episode with the 5-alarm chili and the radioactive pepper? They throw it in there and he like coats his mouth in wax to eat it, and then his stomach like.
Yep.
I don't know. You said radioactive pepper. That's exactly what it made me think of. Was the
That's what
Simpsons.
this one looks like, though.
It's-
Like,
yeah.
look up the Chaos chocolate. It's this brown, lumpy
Big,
pepper, and then you cut it, and the inside is lime green, and it smells like pure heat when you open it. Like, it filled a garage.
It did.
It filled a garage with heat smell. So
Does it like burn your eyes even to smell it?
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't put it
was-
close to my face.
It's
like,
yeah, like you didn't even need to hold it farther than like out in front of you, and you could smell it.
Yeah.
Like it was insane.
Insane. Yeah.
We have a couple guys that come and eat them with us and whatnot. One brave soul ate it raw, and he died.
He
Like
suffered.
there's no other way to put it.
he almost got sick outside.
He
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah.
So
So what's the best way to kind of go about a hot pepper then? So like if you want to have like the full experience, like the straight whiskey, and then if you want to have the on the rocks experience, and then let's say you want to have the cocktail experience.
Okay, so if you wanted to like class it up, I guess you could say, you could do it the way we do, which is basically we get fancy deli meats
and fancy
nice
cheese.
and nice cheeses,
Yeah.
and that dulls it down quite a bit. Okay, so I guess the straight whiskey, like shooting it back, that's just being a crazy person and eating a full slice of it. We never ever eat a whole pod.
Oh,
like
no,
I feel
even
like
a half a pod.
it's dangerous as hell, and it's just not fun anymore. Like it's nice to get a little rush by hurting yourself,
not
but
kill
like
yourself.
I don't want to be pacing the barn trying to keep my stomach contents down, right? So,
Right.
I guess, and then the cocktail version, I would say cook with it would be the cocktail version, because they lose their heat once they're simmered down. Maybe not like in a soup, but if you're like frying meat or grilling meat to just put some on top of it, that would be like the cocktail version where you're just experiencing the spice and some of the flavor.
I make pepper jelly every year, and that's usually what I do. Is I'll do a couple of them, and depending on how hot I want, you choose the peppers you want. The other thing, you guys probably know this, but when you do cut a pepper, you want to make sure that if you don't want a lot of heat, don't add any seed or the white middle part, the placenta. Don't add any of that into it. The farther you go up, the hotter it gets, and I mean much hotter. So you'll see even sometimes some peppers say they're 300,000 to 800,000. And that also is a varying factor, right? Not just the pepper growing, but when you go to cut that pepper, all the flesh is nice and juicy and tasting at 300,000. As soon as you get to that middle, now you've doubled the heat.
Yeah.
it's a scary kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's kind of interesting too. Even when you're thinking when you're cooking with it, or how you're going to make what you're going to make out of it, right? Like if you want a little more of the flavor, say in your jelly, you're going to go a little more of the flesh. You want to add a little bit extra heat, maybe you're going to add a little bit of that placenta, right?
Yeah.
I find a good way sometimes to cook with them too is to use them whole instead. And that way it's easier to get them out. Like if you're serving it to like people with sensitive tastes or stomachs or anything like that, just poke a little hole in it and put it on whatever you're putting on and just let it kind of do its thing. And then you can remove it afterwards. I guess that would be the real cocktail version.
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people do it with
It's like the olive and the martini.
They do it with like soups and whatnot. They'll put it in the soup and they'll never break it. So they just allow, as long as you don't puncture the skin, you don't get a ton of heat. You still get the flavor from it and a mild amount of spice.
Yeah, it just doesn't take over.
It's also, you got to watch that. A million Scoville pepper is still always going to be a million Scoville. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like you got to pretend it's like not a caged dog still, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to look at it.
It's everybody we sold them to this year, and they come up. Some people are like, oh, I want some hot peppers. I can handle it. It's just the pure. Do not fuck this up. Make sure you wear gloves. Like you have to relay this little like 3-step procedure.
We were debating.
Don't come back and get mad at us if you touch your eye. Like you will be going to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
You
touch your eye, or you go to the bathroom or something like that, and you're walking around all night crying.
And the next day, it's just as dangerous too.
It is, yeah. I messed it up once. So the oil it's an oil from a pepper, right? So I chopped it all up. I didn't wear a glove, but I've learned to kind of like touch my tongue with my my fingers and just constantly do that a little bit before you scratch anything. And you wash it, scrub it, doesn't matter. But I went to bed one night and I didn't do that. And throughout the night, you scratch your eye. And you're just laying there and you're just like, that's really fucking hot. So for an hour, I had yogurt just in my eye, debating my wife and be like, take me to the hospital. Like, I don't want to lose my sight tonight. Like, fuck. So it's like, you only mess it up once that bad. You won't ever do it again.
The safety taste test.
Yeah.
And you said you put yogurt in your eye?
Oh, yeah. I opened a whole yogurt and I just sat there with it laying on trying to stop it from burning because it was pain. It was probably a million and a half Scoville. And again, it was just under my nail.
I can't.
And I washed my fingers. I didn't use the brush that time. Just the dumbest thing. But you're asleep. So you scratch your eyes sometimes. You just go to town, right? Yeah, whatever. And then, it's about 30 seconds. I knew I really fucked up. Like,
and that makes me think too with the yogurt thing. It's like a little bit of the lactose or the fat that kind of cools down. Like even when you're eating it, right? You want to cool down your tongue. That's what you do, right?
Idea. That's why you use cheeses and things like that. It actually
right. Yeah, you said the meat too. I was thinking like the fat and the protein kind of absorbs a little bit of the. It's what is it? Casein or whatever? What's it called?
Casein.
Capsaicin. I've heard it said capsaicin. I don't know how it's
said.
It's that many Scoville. That's how hot.
The hot shit.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's
this
hot.
many flame bursts.
Yeah.
Oh, and like I gotta wonder too. Like at some point when you're talking in that higher range too, like how much can you differentiate? Like I guess there are different levels of hell, right? Like you're like, oh, that's hot. How much hotter could that really be? And then you try it, like, well, it gets hotter, right?
Well, I think the hard part is we're told this number of how hot it is. Me and Dan have no way to actually test how hot it is. And then you factor in like the millions of factors in the growth cycle of the pepper.
Did it cross-pollinate? Is there anything else that
got to it?
Like how is it the correct seed that we were given that actually wasn't cross-pollinated?
Yeah. So,
blah, blah, blah.
You think a pepper's, 900 to 1.2 million Scoville, and then you eat it. And then you're like, okay, that's really fucking hot. But then you try one that's 800,000 Scoville, and how do you know that the one you ate was 900 and not 1.2 million? You don't know. Like, when we'll eat a pepper and be like, this one's the hottest one we've had yet. And then we check it, and it usually turns out to be one of the hottest ones we have.
Right.
You get used to it.
I guess the answer, after usually about 500,000, it's really hard to kind of defer. Like, we have one pepper we grow, and you can clearly tell it's like a 400,000 pepper. Because you can eat it, and about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're starting to feel normal again. You want to eat another pepper, you're fine. But you eat a million Scoville or something like that.
Yeah,
you're going. Some are like scented, almost like a perfume flavor, and then some of them have a juiciness to them, and like those are much more tasty, where the other one might burn a little bit more, but they're the exact same heat. So you just end up enjoying this one a little bit more.
And then there was that one, Dan. It was only like 875,000 or something, but it was dry. Remember the one that had?
Yeah.
Like you bit into it, and it was like the juiciness made your throat dry.
It took your breath away, basically.
Yeah, it was really odd, and I struggled with that pepper, but it wasn't one of the hottest ones we have. So.
Yeah, I can remember back home there was a guy I worked with there, and he was super into really hot peppers, and it was whatever he could get. He had habaneros, he had ghost peppers, he had cherry bombs or cherry something like that maybe, or I don't know.
Local cherries.
But he used to make them into a jelly and spread them on toast, and it was like as much as he could get into them. It seemed like he loved it, and I don't know how hot those are per se. Like, and he probably wasn't going to be able to grow like some kind of crazy pepper because he didn't have a greenhouse or nothing. But he was growing them in his garden pretty successfully.
And that being said, like the pepper merchant, he doesn't have a greenhouse either. He's all in bag grows, so he can isolate them, and they're all out in the open. So he just starts his hella early. Like
hella early.
His hot pepper plants are bigger than that beer can right now, and it's February in Ontario. So like we just don't have the room or the ability to do that right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because, you know, you can only have so many seedlings around your house before your wife wants to kick you the fuck out.
Unless your wife wants to have more seedlings, and then you have...
You guys are in a great situation. Yeah, you guys are doing all right.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, actually, too. We were thinking about starting our tomatoes there early, and they were like, no, we want to kind of, like, stick to our plan that we have there. We want to kind of put them in on the right time and that kind of thing. Because, like, also, too, for us, it's like we want to produce as much as we can, but like there's only so much work we kind of want to and can be able to do in the garden too. Because like we try to do like as low work as possible, but like as high yield as possible too, right? Like try to run that balance.
Have you ever looked into like the idea of interplanting, like just to maximize on some of your space and like to keep the mantra of no work, planting. More stuff? Yeah,
we've tried that a little bit with some success. This is our fourth year.
I guess.
No, we harvested our asparagus last year, so that was our third year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so our fourth year.
Already.
Yeah, but like, we're still kind of like learning a little bit of stuff, and like, so yeah, some of that worked out better. Like last year was our first year with our dome, like our greenhouse. And so like that was kind of a learning curve. Like we killed stuff first, and then the stuff that we killed, it came back in the spring. Because we just left it, and I wanted to see what happened. Smart. But then it was like kind of like stretched out and weird and gangly. A lot of it we ended up eating anyways, but it was like it wasn't great. And like what I should have done was scrapped everything, pulled it all out, threw something new in there.
Right.
Part of it was like I wanted to see what happened. Part of it was I didn't want to kill it after it was like I already killed them once.
Yeah.
And then we put in some tomato plants and we killed them with frost, kind of for half. And then because they were weakened, aphids got in there and like went to town. And then I learned that apparently ants will farm aphids. So I had ants in the dome too, and the ants were helping carry the aphids to the tomato plants to just eat the tomato plants. So, and then finally I got some kind of like organic pesticide that I sprayed on there, and it wiped it out. Like I think luckily I got it like right on their turnover with their larvae, like when they're going from egg or whatever. Like I interrupted the cycle properly.
Right.
I think it was just dumb luck. Go ahead.
How big is the dome?
18 feet.
18 feet, shit. That's
because I was gonna say, like, if you were to get, I'll send you a message once we're done with the show. But I have a list of. I've been working on a list of essentially perennial and annual like flower and other crops for pest control. And in a situation like that, you'd probably only need like one of every plant, which wouldn't take up very much room in your dome.
Where you can put them in pots.
And then the stuff's there for you already. It's doing stuff. It's bringing good bugs in, right? And the other thing I was going to say, have you guys looked into getting a praying mantis in that thing?
No. We looked a little bit at like maybe ladybugs for the aphids.
I would look into praying mantis. They're a lot
okay.
Better. Yeah.
And like you can just get one and then I guess they'll just hang out there the whole season.
Yeah, you essentially what you're buying is an egg sack full of like 500, but they cannibalize each other, and then you get left with one, maybe two. If they can get far enough away from each other, two, but you'll always have one typically at the end.
Right.
And what was the stat, Daniel? One mantis can do a lot of pest control for was it 50 square feet or 500 square feet?
Yeah, I think it was 500 square feet.
It was a massive amount of area.
Insane.
Oh, wow.
One of them can cover.
Like, and
The dome's 130 or 120 square feet, I think.
One mantis, man, and he'd get rid of a lot of that aphid action.
The list of the things that he eats is insane.
Insane.
Yeah. So that's his job.
He just walks around eating all day. Hope to God you don't squish him when you're in there working, ideally. We're talking about a northern mantis, right? Like, it's not, National Geographic here. Like, we're talking something like this that looks like a piece of straw
it's like
walking
an
around.
Inch tall, inch and a half tall.
Yeah.
Not very big.
But we were going to get one for our greenhouse, but unfortunately the bug lady in Nova Scotia, she was out of them last season and we couldn't get any. So
we're making sure we're early this year.
I'm going to get one this year.
Just to see if he does improve anything, right?
I kind of like that idea. I like the Highlander vibe of the mantis. Like, there can only be one.
Yeah.
And they're beheading each other in the same way too with their thing, right? They're giving one of those.
Each other to boot. It's like Jurassic Park too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that idea because it's like an integrated pest management kind of idea, right?
Exactly.
And I'm looking forward to this year because I feel like we have a kind of a good plan, and I think we kind of underplanted, but I think we did that sort of strategically because we want to see like what we can really do for those plants. Gotcha. And then next year we'll know, like, all right, was that the right amount of plants? And because we manicured them all the right way, and because that was the thing too. Like, I found like I was in there cutting tomatoes like all the time, right? And I was always behind.
Yeah. One thing I learned also about tomatoes, you only need 4 feet of growth on the top of a tomato plant. Everything else can come off. So whenever you're growing them vertically, you only need to keep the top 4 feet. That's all it needs to actually produce more tomatoes and keep growing. So we go
all the bottom.
Yeah, we go pretty heavy at them whenever we start going. We're usually a foot every time, once a week when I start walking in there. And it's okay. I agree. It's a lot. Tomatoes are a lot. Like, the trimmings are friggin' something.
Do you guys like top them at all in the beginning, or do any kind of like?
Pepper plants will top. So we learned that last year. Pepper plant has a single growth hormone in the top of the head, and if you top them after they usually have about 7 leaves / nodes coming out of them, the growth hormone goes back down to the root system and then comes back up, and every new head from that point now has the growth hormone. So that's how you produce bigger bunches of peppers and things like that. Now, some of them, whenever the head comes up, it'll skip a bunch of them, and it'll only go like 2 or 3 at the top. But then each set of those heads will have its own set of flowers. It's
kind of like lollipop and weed.
It is,
to be honest.
Yeah. And then pulling them out type idea, but same idea. Yeah.
Well, no, that's kind of funny because like we were talking to a gardener there last weekend. We were talking to the last week rather, the Superior gardener, and we were talking about how much like kind of like cannabis kind of really actually helped horticulture or like plant, like learning about plants, because you had to teach people biology. And so you had to give them that little carrot to dangle in front of them. It's like, listen, I'll teach you science and I'll give you drugs. Fair trade? Right? You're gonna learn engineering, and you're gonna learn electricity, and you're gonna learn biology and chemistry, and you get a drug for it. All right? And then so that like, it's kind of a funny thing because you get these sort of like wizards, right? Who are growing for forever, and they're growing discreetly too, these huge plants.
Yep.
And they're doing it for forever. And then you get these people now where it's legal in Canada, and you can grow 4 plants, right?
Yep.
And if you start a plant early enough and you trim it the right way, you can grow like a gigantic monster plant in your backyard. It's like a Christmas tree.
I've seen people with 7 foot plants, and it's hilarious because like a lot of spots in Charlottetown and PEI, if you want to have those plants outside, you need a 7-foot fence around them, or maybe that's Canada. I don't know.
6 foot. Pretty sure it's 6 foot.
But anyway, I've seen people with this tiny little like 6x6 fence with a door, and it's just like
a plant.
Half over the top of the fence, and you're just like, man, like, what is the point of that fence? Like, it's not hiding anything.
It's the rules, right?
Yeah. It's like nothing going on here, man. Don't mind.
Yeah.
Mini Christmas tree farm. Yeah. Move along.
Yeah, I'm a flower enthusiast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
These are never.
I'm a pollinator for my garden.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I kind of like how that is, because that's the same thing you do with cannabis too. You top it, right? And I guess it must be the same sort of growth hormone thing. And that being said too, with the pepper plants, do you do like a lot of trimming with them on the bottom too? Do you worry about the foliage on them as much? Are they a little more finicky?
Much. The biggest reason why a lot of people deal with the foliage is if you don't have proper airflow. Tomatoes and pepper plants actually can self-pollinate. You just need to make sure that you shake it around or have good wind flow, right? Or bugs and all that jazz. But kind of like a greenhouse, right? The more that we manipulated our tomato plants, the more we help pollinate them, because you're constantly moving them and shaking them around and cutting their leaves off and things like that. So if you went at them twice a week, you're actually encouraging the pollination rate. Peppers, same idea. We don't do a lot of work, but we'll open up a couple leaves. Maybe if you got leaves clustered, giant plant, and there's leaves on the inside, well, they're not seeing any sunlight anyway, so they don't actually need to be there. If they can't grab light, then they're not helping the plant anyways, and the plant's putting more growth towards the leaves that are doing nothing for them in the long run.
We usually make sure there's room between them too.
Yes.
I remember last year we went through, we hacked everybody.
We
kind of bushwhacked everybody there. We put our peppers significantly, like we're much like you guys. Like that was our first year with a massive fucking greenhouse last year. Like
we crammed it.
We crammed it way too far. We had too many everything in there. Too much everything.
We started with 198 tomato plants in there and almost 200 hot peppers.
Yeah.
So at the end, we probably lost, let's say, 20 tomatoes and 20 peppers, but we were still almost 400 plants in that little greenhouse, and it's only 40 by
it resulted in a lot
40
of crowding.
feet or 20 feet by 40 feet long. Like it's not huge.
It's big enough though.
Big enough.
One before,
yeah,
so
it's true. It was a good
enough to bite off. No.
And one thing we do with our super hots at the end of the year, we actually strip almost all the leaves off them, and we just let the light and the nutrients go into the pepper. So for the last basically 3 weeks, we don't need them to produce any more peppers. We just need them to ripen up the peppers they already have. Yeah. So yes, some of them that aren't fully developed won't finish ripening, but everybody else ripens up much quicker.
And so you take like all of the leaves or like most of the leaves? All of them.
Online somewhere there. Just a quick clip, but we just strip them.
They're stripped.
So they're almost like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree kind of thing.
It really looks like that, and then all this color, which is pretty cool because all the different types of hot peppers you'd have, and the shapes, and it's pretty nifty. But we pulled up 2,000 hot pepper pods out of that greenhouse, plus like all their bells and jalapenos, which would almost be another 2,000.
Well, that's another thing we're kind of excited too, because we also picked a few plants like kind of based on their color and that kind of stuff, and we're growing tomatillos for the first time. We've never grown those before. And we're growing a few different varieties of peppers. Some are hotter, but most of them are a little more mild. Yeah. But like a little bit of the color, and that's kind of what I look forward to a little bit too, is like all that green, and then after you get like some of the yellow, some of the purple, some of the red. Purple, red, green. Yeah. Green. Yeah, yellow. We'll have a few colors in there, which I kind of look forward to.
Are you doing like a purple bell pepper or anything like that?
No, it's purple tomatillo, actually.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah,
that is neat.
I don't think we've done one of those. No.
We've never done a tomatillo, no. They make me too nervous because the ones William Dam has, they only have the green ones. And once we put that into the greenhouse, it's like, how the fuck do you know that that's not just an unripe tomato?
Why isn't this never turning red?
Well, we put tomatoes all season long.
True, though.
Until our stomachs hurt.
Well, that's what we actually ended up doing. We had a bunch of tomatoes this year towards the end of the season because we ended up having some pests, and I got behind on trimming and stuff like that. We had tomatoes that I had to pull that just never got a chance to ripen. Yeah. And that's what we ended up actually doing. We just turned them into like salsa verde kind of thing. Nice. Like it's not a true salsa verde because I think that's technically tomatillos. Yeah.
Chow.
But
we refer to it as chow.
Is that what it is?
All the old people will pull up in their cars, won't even get out and be like, "You got any green tomatoes?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's the time of year," and we just give them 10 pounds, 20 pounds at a time. That's all they ever do. Chow. They love it.
Yeah, our last tomato harvest last year was mid-November.
That's good. That's
we would have been close.
Yeah, we were about there.
We were close.
November 17th, I think we finally lost our
I think it was the 21st for us, so really close.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And you guys got did you just kind of push the plant till the bitter end and then just one heavy cold night killed everybody?
Pretty much, yeah. It got cold in there. Everything pretty much kind of died off, and we went in there and just pulled everything off. Some of it even got a little bit of frost, but most of it was savable.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I think we got a better plan this year. I'm looking forward to it. Like that's kind of the cool thing with the farming and gardening kind of thing too, right? You kind of plan ahead. You get your new plan. You're like, all right, no, I know where I did wrong this year. I know what I'm going to do right now, and then
Yeah.
And then you can get go like what you guys are doing there. That sounds like wild, growing that many plants. Like, I mean, I guess we're growing a fair number of plants at the end of the day too. And then the idea is to, I mean, we want to maximize what we can grow just in our backyard. Like last year, we planted 29 different fruit bushes / fruit trees /
Nice.
vines and all that kind of stuff.
Get ahead.
So we want to grow stuff basically like everywhere in our yard, and we're fortunate where we have like a decent sized kind of suburban backyard, and so we got like kind of this big hill that normally wouldn't be usable, but it's like perfect for putting like bushes and stuff like that because they can tolerate some shade, they can tolerate some poor soil quality and stuff like that, and they're local to the area anyways. So like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they'll grow a nice strong root system. They'll be able to hold themselves on the hill, things like that. Yeah. You ever use or do hascaps? You tried that yet?
Yeah, we have 3 hascaps we bought.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah.
They're good for you.
We're finally in a location where Tom actually lives now. He has a piece of land that we can start putting permanent things, because that's one of the problems with what we were doing. You know, we're showing what we can grow off nothing, but we don't want to be planting peach trees there, because then in 7 years, if we got to lift them up, then it's going to be a pain in the ass. Or we won't. But so now we're just starting that ourselves. We're starting our asparagus. We always had like blueberries. I've been cloning strawberries for the past probably 6 years now, and I've got about 500 to 600 strawberry plants we're moving this year. So we opened a strawberry patch field, things like that. We're kind of same idea, get prepared to have everything that we need. But yeah, our seedlings, we learned one lesson about our high intensity purposes, and the high rotation is you always start an extra tray or 2 every week, even off the charts, because there might be a crop of lettuce that doesn't come up. There might be a crop of seeds that were carrots or whatever. They all got eaten for some reason, things like that. So instead of then restarting 3 weeks late, you have another tray that maybe matches the cycle of what you're trying to fit. And that's one of the things we've kind of learned. Then we also just surplus anybody else. So anybody around that comes for our workshops and things like that, if we have additional plants, we give them to them, take home, you plant them, yada, yada, yada. So it's never like a loss, essentially. But if you're going to rotate, you'll always have an extra tray of something just for no reason, just to have that option.
There's usually like 3 or 4 trays that sit behind green onions at some point from the end of the season. Once you get into July and you're seeding, it's like, wow, green onions or broccoli, which one is it this week?
Yeah.
Like,
have you guys ever used a soil blocker?
I don't know what's that.
It's basically it's a handheld unit, and it blocks the soil. It builds like a nice solid block, and it just creates a better starting system for a lot of your big plants, tomatoes, kale, things like that. The blocks, because the air can get at the outside, it naturally aerates the roots. So the root ball becomes that much more dense and tight inside the soil block. It never reaches out looking for anything. It's pretty nifty. We had great success on any of our broccolis, kales, Swiss chard, tomatoes, things like that. Any of that type, we had amazing success with it. So
like, hold on, like it's a device that like cuts out like basically a square chunk out of the ground, and then that's like fit better to your seed pod.
Imagine making dirt brownies. It's like a squeezer makes dirt brownies that come with a little hole in the top, and then you put your seed in, you plant it, they germinate in that. And now you don't need your like 72 cell tray. You just need the bottom, the tight bottom, and you put these in it. And when they're germinating, the roots want to come out the side of the block, but the air prunes them, right? Because as soon as the roots hit the air, they fall off, which stresses the plant. In turn, I would say it's 100% better plug than the tray starts.
You lose a bit of root because the block of dirt's a little bit bigger. So like a 72 cell block, now you can get 36 of them in there. So it halves it basically, right? But if you're only needing 40 broccoli plants for a 30-foot bed thing, like it's that much better. The quality of your seed, like how much harder and bigger it is. It's and the germination time, everything's the same, but it's that much hardier of a plant going out.
Well, it's interesting too, because I'm just thinking now, because we have a 50 cell pot, I think it is, and we just planted. We ended up planting only like 20, right? Yeah. And doing something like what you're saying, we could have totally sacrificed that space, and we would have had a better root system. It sounds like, and like a sort of a better start there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. Like, there's a little bit of a learning curve to using a cell blocker. It takes a little more time.
If you go and we get our potting soil, but the one thing we learned is if you want to use a soil blocker, do not use.
It holds its form?
It holds its form, but we don't use vermiculite or perlite. We use the all-natural potting soil without either of those because just for the soil blocking reasons, it's that much easier. And it's basically like building a mud pie. You add so much water into your tops or into your potting soil, you mix it around until it becomes like tangible, right? And then you start filling the soil blocker.
And then how well does the whole water? Like how often are you got to water your seedlings when you're doing that?
Cool parts too is it holds like it's so moist straight off the hop. Like you still gotta like give it a little spray, but it holds so much water that even come as you like move on, you just end up filling a bit of water in the bottom tray, and everybody sucks it up, and then they just sit there. The root system like will then start to hold the block together.
Do you keep the hood on there? Do you keep a hood on there too?
No.
Nope. So you keep it open to the air, and then you just kind of you add a little bit of water to the bottom, and it all kind of absorbs up.
Exactly. Yeah. That's also one thing I've learned too. Once a seedling hits a certain stage, most of the time you want to do bottom watering. The bottom watering encourages the roots to move into the soil. That's so you don't like if you're always spraying on the top, the two things that can happen is the soil or the roots will stay at the top part of the soil looking for that water coming to it, and you're increasing the disease possibilities and things like that by adding water to the leaves if it's not drying properly. So a lot of the time when you have things inside, that's why you start to have problems. So if you completely like, I think it was 10 days after your seedling's a seedling, you're supposed to start bottom watering. Yeah, there's all these little weird tricks that you're just like, everybody tells you something new every year, right? You're just trying to create your own system that...
You got to talk to old gardeners, man. That's where all the history and knowledge and everything that we need that we like cruise the internet for. Yeah. A senior citizen fucking has it. And if you can get them to remember it, it's in your best interest.
He was so excited about the soil blocker. So we bought this stand upright one that you stand over. It does like 16...
From Johnny's. Right, it was way too expensive.
Way too expensive. Right, it works great. We still use it, all that jazz. But as we're... throughout the year, this older lady was looking for somebody to take some of her late husband's planting stuff. So we just got contacted. It's like, sure. She goes, would you like a soil blocker? And I was like, yes, I would. I fucking know what that is. And we got this old rusted from 1970-something soil blocker that her husband using for 40 or 50 years.
Better than a $400
and here we thought we're finding something that, is brand new to the world and they're just starting to use it. Fuck no. We're going to get out forever. There's all these old things, right? Old ways of doing it and stuff. And I feel like a lot of that's just kind of coming back into culture. Like it was completely lost for 50 years, essentially.
I think we're losing it now.
Yeah.
Well, that actually, I think that like you're kind of right there. There is a bit of that rediscovery because like I'll talk to my grandma sometimes because we get into this gardening stuff. My grandma always used to have a garden. She had chickens for a period of time and stuff like that. My mom can remember when they'd go like harvest chickens or whatever. There's a story where a chicken stole her watch. And I mean, things didn't turn out so well for that chicken. He ended up having a bad day at the end of it.
I was going to say someone soup, but hey.
But I mean, anyways, it was like, like I go talk to my grandmother and she's like, oh yeah, like, no, we used to do that. Or you know what you want to do is this. And she says, oh, by the way, I've got like 4 or 5 books on that. Oh, if you want to do preserves, this is a really great jam recipe. And then she's got her notes in the book, right? Yeah. She's like, use this one. And then like the rest of the recipes, don't even worry about it.
No. Yeah. Like do this and this, skip this, but only buy this brand of this because it's the only way it works. And it's just like, that hasn't existed in 15 fucking years.
Yeah.
It's like, what
Grandma, where the hell am I going to get that? Oh, I have some in my cellar. It's like, you can throw that out. Don't use that.
15-gallon tub of whatever it is.
Oh, it doesn't go bad.
No.
Just take the mold off.
Yeah, that's the thing to learn though. Like, because what we started doing recently. Sophia's family's Portuguese, so they they'll have like back home they'll have presunto a lot of the time, right? Or prosciutto they'll call it, or like some people just call it like a ham, right? But you'll keep it on like the counter. I mean, ideally you want to keep it around I think 15 degrees Celsius, and that helps keep it longer.
Yeah.
But basically, it develops some molds on there, and from a normal sort of modern point of view, you're like, "You gross mold, you should throw that out." But actually, a lot of those molds that are on there are keeping away the dangerous molds that will actually kill you.
Yeah.
You scrape those ones off, you just cut them off. The meat underneath that is fine, and as long as you don't dry it out, you just keep eating that meat. And because it's cured in a certain way, right? It's just like it's a different way to learn how to think. And then even Sophia's mother, like she teaches us all the time. Like there's some things where I'm like, I'm not sure if I should eat that, and Anna looks at it and she's like, you can eat that. And for me, I'm like, you can take that to the bank. If she says you can eat it, you can eat it.
In North American culture, we're kind of trained to read the expiration date and like throw things out the minute we're on the expiration date. The reality of the subject is like eggs are probably good for 3 fucking weeks after that date. Sometimes.
As long as they don't float.
As long as they don't float, like crack them and eat them. Like maybe if they kind of half float, you don't want to drink them raw. But like,
Mace Tom didn't just say it, but he says it to me all the time. It's best before, not poison after. Right?
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
And like I remember watching the cartoons as a kid, and the dude pours the milk out and it's clumpy, and it's like, well, now we know the milk's rotten.
Yeah,
like it probably wasn't the best before date though. You know, like I don't know. And what was the other thing I was listening about? Pheasant. So apparently, pheasant doesn't taste its best until it's damn near rotten. So like you're supposed to cook a pheasant, hang it, or no. Maybe it's hang it, then cook it. But you're supposed to basically like leave it outside till it's just about rotten, and then it's ready to prepare.
That's crazy.
Like, that blows my mind. I'm not used to that idea.
How would you learn that?
Well, there's only one way to find out, man. No.
Yeah. Well, my guess would be like that's one of those things where like basically you had a bunch of stuff going on where you didn't get to it or you forgot about it or whatever the case was. There was this one bird that just got left over, and you're like, I bet you I could eat that. And then you try it, and you're like, hey, Jacques, this is pretty fucking good. Come try this. And he's like, dude, that was sitting there for 3 weeks. You're out of your mind. He's like, no, I swear to God, come try this. It's delicious.
Okay, now that we're on to talking about like eating wildlife, I got to bring this up because have you guys heard about this Canadian super pig thing? Have you heard about this yet?
No.
Okay.
We have pigs? Or like wild pigs or something?
In Saskatchewan, in the early 2000s, apparently, doctors in the University of Saskatchewan got together and they had this idea: if we breed a wild boar with a domesticated pork pig, we can get an outdoor pig that'll be ready for slaughter year-round. They did it. They made the pigs. Now it's like a 400-pound wild boar. And the meat was gamey tasting, as would be. It's bred with a boar, so there was no demand for it. The farmers were told to kill these animals. Some of them did not. Some of them let them loose and said, fuck it, it's a wild boar, it'll be fine in the woods. Turns out 20 years later, there's a pack of 120 of these fucking things in Saskatchewan, and they're moving towards the United States in a fucking invasion fashion to go house and home in Montana, and that's not even a joke.
They eat everything in their sight.
Like, pigs ravish stuff,
but
right?
It's terrifying.
But
I've heard about it in Texas. They're out of control in Texas, where people see them hunting them with choppers, and they're like, "What are you doing? That's insane." It's like, no, this is a problem. We're doing a service to the community.
I'm telling you,
eating is insane.
Google the Canadian super pig and get a look at this fucking thing. This is not what's in Texas. This is like the closest thing to a woolly mammoth we're ever going to see in real life.
It's a giant ass.
So like when you're talking about the wild boar, I'm guessing it's getting that winter coat. But the thing is, what I understand too, if you get like a regular domesticated pig that we think of like the pink thing in the old McDonald's farm, if you let that go, in a few years, that turns into something that's pretty wild looking and almost indistinguishable from what it was in the first place.
Yeah,
so when the scientist thinks like, I'm going to breed these two things because this is domesticated, it's like, no, that thing is like basically like 3 generations domesticated. And it will be like that wild boar. Now you just let wild boars go is what you did.
Yeah, essentially. But now they're bred to be bigger, right? Yeah. That's what you did.
Except for they have that super freak genetic from the super. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a real thing. Canada made it, and I think we should be fucking proud of it.
Yeah.
No.
And we're exporting it to the world whether they want it or not. By this time next year, they'll be in Mexico.
Yeah.
They call it El Grande.
Yeah.
Mexican.
El Porco Grande.
Oh, fuck.
I got the super pig out in public.
I
That's
love it.
fucking great.
I love it.
People need to know about it.
They all
Well,
day.
that's another thing that Saskatchewan could be proud of too.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, they got the Rough Riders and now the giantest, most vicious pigs in all of North America.
or Rough Riders and the super pig in the same conversation. It's a high
Well,
caliber football team. No.
maybe the Rough Riders now will instead be the Super Pigs. Maybe that's what they'll
No,
change.
that would be fucking
Better mascot, better colors.
Yeah.
No, seriously, Google a picture of these things, though. They're great. Like, I'm really proud
He is-
to be a Canadian that we have super pigs.
Well, because I'm thinking in my head about like a 400-pound pig.
It's fucking huge.
It's a scary looking pig, man. Like, if I was in the woods and that thing came rolling out somewhere, I'd be like, whoa.
Or a pack of them.
Yeah, or like 5 of them. I'd
Yeah.
get up a tree, man. I would
That's
get up a
fucking
tree.
stupid.
I think I'd be more scared of 5 super pigs than I would a grizzly. I'm not joking, because like a grizzly, like it might still be sleepy. Like
The
those
pigs
super
come to
pigs
eat
are
ya.
The
always.
pigs would eat you faster. The pigs would eat you faster.
Yeah, they want.
There'd
to
be
eat.
nothing left of you in like an hour.
No,
Yeah.
no, the grizzly's gonna drag you home.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
finish you
Yeah,
there.
he'll bury you. He'll come back, let you age a little bit. You'll dry age on the bone. Then he'll come back. He's like, nah, not quite right. I'm gonna come back. The pigs are you're gonna be gone. There's gonna be nothing left.
Yeah,
And
Should-
that's how you full circle of podcasts. Right?
yeah, it's
Because you
true
have
though.
our growing experiment, and I brought up fucking super pigs. There it is. There it is.
Talked about tomatoes, peppers, and super pigs.
Yeah.
Super big.
That's a great side note for when people read the description on the show. Though.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything.
Going back to peppers, I'm just wondering, what about watering? Do they like being watered?
We have ours on drip tape. That runs
one run of drip hose.
runs what 6 hours a day in the heat of the summer.
4.
4 hours a day in the heat of the summer.
We
So
run-
not a lot of water,
we
really.
have per tomato plant.
Like, what
we
is that
have-
like volume wise? Like, how much do you figure they're getting over the day?
Poof, I don't know. Like the drip tape. Oh God, that's a lot of math.
Yeah.
It's only a half-inch drip tape, and it's got a hole every 8 inches, and it's only like just dripping out. So I'm gonna say, I don't know, big glass of water over the run of the day, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
having a watering can and maybe.
Well, the reason I'm asking is just because, like, I usually can only get a chance to water them like once a day. I don't have the drip tape set up, so I'm thinking if I get in there in the morning and I give them, like, I don't want to drown them, but like, because the one thing I noticed with my peppers is after I kind of neglected them and didn't water them for a while, they actually came back, got way healthier, and then I could give them a little bit more water, and then they were great.
you can drown them fairly
You
easily.
can
peppers.
drown them.
Yeah.
It will stress them and stuff. We kind of ran into that because the drip hose is just set up in one long fashion, and it's mainly for our tomatoes, but we're using it for our hot peppers as well. But we just had to make sure that one drip hose did, because we do the 30-inch bed, we had 2 rows of peppers, and that drip hose was sitting in the middle. So basically the peppers could go get the water when they wanted it instead of having it directly on them like we would the tomatoes. But
Right.
you're right. Peppers they love 2 things. They love to go from one to the other, have all their water, dry out, and then go back to being like a nice heavy water. And they like, if you're planting them in the ground, they like to be flush in the ground. They like when the water can run by them. So they only need to take what they need. And then, those are
Okay.
little tricks on peppers.
Well, because now I'm thinking what I had, because I created some mounds with the tomatoes I had planted next to my peppers. That's probably why I inadvertently drowned them, right? Because I was kind of everything I was watering on my tomato plants that wanted that water, I was drowning out my pepper plants.
Yep, that's exactly, yeah. So that will, most of the time you'll have flowers fall off. You will have
Yep.
the pepper stunt, things like that. It just won't grow
Yep.
for a couple days type idea. What's the other fucking thing? Well, your tomato plants, so you're mounding them. Do you remove a bunch of the arms and the little hairs that are coming up do you plant the tomatoes deep? Like a good...
Well, yeah, so what I did was I planted them deep, and then I tried mounding them, and the mounding didn't work as good as I hoped, because basically when I would water them, the mound just eroded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I'm like, next year I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to grow them, take the bottom leaves off, plant them as sort of deep as I can, and then make sure it's nice and flat, and then just try not to drown them.
That's the way to do it in reality. Look up doing a spice mix as well. We've learned we use Epsom salts, earthworm castings, and bone meal. There is a ratio you want for those, but we do a little sprinkle in the hole whenever we put the plants in, and then once they start to bear heavy amounts of fruit, We trench a line down between them, and we sprinkle down the line again. This encourages, it gives it everything. It gives the Epsom salts create a natural defense for blight and other types of diseases for the plants. Your earthworm castings and bone meal assist in the growth and larger productions of fruit type idea. So it's all these.
And you do that just at the beginning?
We do that so when you dig your hole with your tomato plant, you have this all mixed together, and you just do like your pinching salt type idea, right?
Like the salt bake.
So it's like a bonus starter kind of mix in the beginning almost.
Yeah, and then
Right.
the nutrients are there for when they look for them. They don't
Right.
use them all at the same time. They usually, a plant's growth, it's mainly nitrogen at the beginning. Then you start to go into your phosphorus and potassium, and those are for how much fruit you grow and how big your fruit is. Yeah, it helps with all
And then you said later on then too you're going to do a trench, and then you're going to do another feeding of that again.
Exactly. Yeah, usually about halfway through the season, July time. So when they're about to go into full production.
Okay. Well, that's something that I think we will take note of too, because that's something too we've like I had to learn a little bit more about too. Like I kind of had this idea where like you didn't really have to fertilize and stuff like that, but once you start fertilizing, like you fertilize, just fertilize.
Do you know what? Do you guys grow comfrey anywhere around your area there?
No, I don't like I've heard of comfrey I think before, but like I'm not super familiar with it.
It's a perennial, and it basically spreads like a weed.
Yeah, it triples in size every year.
But the beauty of it is it's a all-purpose natural fertilizer. Once you cut the leaves off and brew them, like you bubble them into a tea for about roughly a week, and it's like an all-purpose fertilizer that can be sprayed like foliar-wise. Like you can just spray your whole field down with it. Yeah. It's a really easy way to fertilize, and anything you can grow on your like in your growing space to help feed your growing space is always a win-win.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
into comfrey, maybe you can get a little plant and just get started slowly, but there's nothing to making tea out of it.
What's
like
the 5 things it gives? Nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, iron
or some copper, maybe I can't remember, but it's a heavy
it's
metal.
one of the only ones that actually gives you 5 types of nutrients that you need for your plant. And
well, that's interesting that it's from a plant source too, where it has all that source in it.
Exactly, isn't that cool? And it's the leaves too. The leaves are like rather long, almost like a oval type idea, but they grow so well, and it comes back every year, and you can just hack it right down.
Well, the super cool thing about that too is the nature of it that you're describing is a super fertilizer, and it's a weed.
Yeah.
So like, you basically hope in a wild environment this plant thrives and is killed a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Because then it's basically it's growing out and dropping fertilizer everywhere. It's kind of like, oh, that's awesome. Like
We could probably find some.
or like that's a good idea. Like where we have patches in the backyard that we let grow wild, growing like a comfrey patch that you can cut down and then do a big boil of or something like that, right?
Let's add to that little patch, okay? So chrysanthemums, basically, if you get wild chrysanthemum, it kind of looks a little bit like a daisy, I guess.
Yep.
The yellow flower with the white petals. If you can get a nice patch of chrysanthemum going, that can be your pesticide. That can be brewed down into a mild pesticide tea.
And catnip and things like that. Add all your wildflower stuff around. That's what you grow in a patch like that, because it gives everything you're looking for to either feed your plant or assist in the plant growth. It's pretty, yeah. Another thing, you don't need to make the comfrey into a tea either. You can actually chop it up and do that same idea as what I was talking about, doing the trench and just put it right in the ground.
We tested that last year.
As it naturally breaks down, the plants will.
Do you have to dry it out a little bit so it will it propagate?
We just take it and cutting board with a knife.
It's like we were chopping onions.
Yep.
We got this big pile of
Oh, so
comfrey.
you chop it like into a mulch.
Yeah, basically, and then we just down under. It was probably an inch under.
Yeah, we just basically run like a quick little hoe on an angle and make a line, put it in. Push the dirt over.
Put our seedlings over top, and see you later.
Yeah.
I really like that idea of growing like a fertilizer patch, because we've been recently talking lots about growing pollinator patches and interspacing pollinators in our growing and stuff too, as well as not only is it a pollinator which is beneficial, but it also just covers bits of soil. Because like even the other thing is like the dome, I left it kind of open and uncovered over the wintertime, and actually there's a noticeable amount of soil drop in there.
Yep.
Like it's that, like you wouldn't think, but like it kind of turns into dust.
Yeah.
When you go to rebuild your beds too, use any dry leaves, things like that. Add them in, mulch them in if you want before you put your compost or topsoil over the top. All leaf matter is actually built and designed to be a natural fertilizer for all plants. So
that's why forest floors are so fucking lush.
We actually drive around every year in the fall, and we just take the bags of leaves that people have piled up in the front lawns, and we take them to the mountain. We pile this huge amount of them, and then we start putting them in our beds and everything.
It's an event. Like
it is an event.
We call it leaf jacking. Yeah. Like all the people all their leaves up, and they leave them all out.
You do all the work for us.
I'm going around in my minivan, like stealing your bagged up leaves, and I make an event out of it. Like I was debating wearing like a face mask, like a balaclava. Get pulled over for it, but I didn't go that far. I wasn't willing to go that far.
Do you worry about getting like lots of pine needles in the mix if that happens, or?
Well, you can see what people have kind of raked up. So you lift the bags, and if the bags aren't super heavy, most of the time it's not full of fucking dirt and shit. It's just leaves.
Yeah.
So like you just kind of choose what you want, and yes, you will have
spy the trees.
You'll have some acidity build up, but if you keep doing more and more like this way and stuff, you build up such a natural soil that acidity doesn't matter. Like even with your crop rotation, some plants like the acidic soil, like your tomatoes or peppers or things like that, like it more, right, than a root vegetable or anything else. So then even if that one year you grew all the things that you wanted to grow in there that removes the acidity, then the next year grow something else.
There's a farm in Maine. Oh, shit. I had the name and now it's gone. But anyway, she's essentially a compost farm, but she's also a no-till farm. And she's been doing studies into pH. And she's starting to find that once the organic matter in your soil gets above a certain percentage, pH is actually not a factor anymore. So all this stuff about we're always worried about like fine-tuning our pH for your crops. It may not matter once your soil gets to a point of living ability, I guess is the best way to say. Like once your soil's so alive, the pH isn't going to matter because there's enough life in there to keep
it's so resilient.
Yeah.
So we broad fork, we don't till. We try not to ever flip the soil over on top of itself. Even when we add our compost, it goes over the top. It never goes down. All the nutrients and everything, every time it rains or water, seeps into the soil anyways. So there's no point burying it somewhere the plant needs to go look for it. It's naturally going to go to the root system or through the plant anyways. The other thing we were doing there for a while, cover cropping. We do lots of cover cropping. So we have peas and things like that. So after we're done harvesting, we will cover crop our beds before the end of the year. We add other types of a nitrogen balancer or something back into the soil, and we tarp it so that we then have organic matter we've killed right back into the soil. So we're almost like always building up than ever actually going down anymore. It's our beds, even our lasagna bed. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of lasagna bed where you layer your straws and compost and soil over and stuff. That's how we did our greenhouse this year. And we probably have the best beds ever by starting that way instead of even going into the ground. We just went straight up.
It's like, wow. I mean, I feel like we're just getting really into it. And I feel like right now we're actually kind of like running out of time because unfortunately we got to go take care of the kids and stuff. But like, I feel like I could keep talking to you guys for another hour. Because just even in that last little bit there, that comfrey tip and growing more fertilizer and a little bit of that stuff there, those are like super practical, easy, like great ideas.
If you want to keep talking, if they're available.
Yeah, I guess I can talk for a little bit longer.
If you guys are available, you guys keep talking. I'm just going to go put the little guy to bed.
Jib jabbing, man. I'll keep jib jabbing. I mean, there was supposed to be a snowstorm here. We were worried about getting Dano home. But
I got about 25-minute drive home, but
it's not happening.
Not a snowflake's hit the ground yet, so.
All right, yeah. Well, I guess we'll keep rolling for a little bit.
Yeah. Just stop it whenever you guys are done then.
All right.
Oh, God.
Well, nice to see you guys. Nice chatting with you.
Take care. Yeah, I know we're scary men to start talking about plants because we won't shut the fuck up. It sounds stupid, but it's like you go to a party and someone's like, "Oh, this is my tomato plant." Don't go tell Dan. Don't fucking go tell Dan because he won't shut up for an hour. Tomatoes. It's
don't let him know what's out there.
I never liked growing tomatoes back in the day. Sounds stupid. I never even ate them. And then my sister started some for me, and I played with it for a year, and I grew all my tomatoes 10 feet tall and grew about 110 pounds of tomatoes. And so I was like, oh, fuck, what else can I do, right? Like, this is it kind of inspires you in a different fashion, right? So you learn all the different tricks and all the ins and outs and how you can grow bigger bunches of tomatoes. That's basically my life goal, which is so stupid. But
It's a great life goal.
But once you get into it, though, it is that thing you get excited, right? Like, I know for me, like this year, I feel like I got like a more of a decent handle on a lot of stuff. There's a lot of ideas I had in the beginning that I think were like wrong, but like I had it in my head that they were right. Like I thought, like, you leave the plant alone, do its natural thing, right? And then it'll be great. But no, you gotta cut it down. You gotta cut it the right way. You gotta intervene, right? But now I feel like I got kind of like a decent handle on it a little bit. But
it's like chores too, right?
It does.
And the biggest battle is like sorting those out. It's like, okay, at this moment we know we need to tie the broccoli up. Okay, let's do that. And then you don't know that until you've completely fucking sunburnt your first set of broccoli, and you're like, how can I get around this?
Yeah, how can I stop
spinach? If we don't cut it, it's going to get tall, and when it gets tall, you can't eat it because it's bolted, right? So like, you don't know that until you fuck up your first set of spinach plants and they turn into bushes.
And that can take days.
Yeah.
4 days you're off in your harvest and all of a sudden everything's bitter. You're just like, well, fuck. Like it's how you learn. It sounds stupid, but yes, you fucked it up, but now you learn. You know what not to do. So hopefully you won't do that one again.
That's exactly it. Like there's so much stuff that like I grew last year too, where like you get ambitious too and you want to grow a bunch of stuff, because I grew a bunch of spinach. It was great for a while. And I thought it was a little more heat resistant, but that's exactly what happened. It started to bolt on me. And then basically what you got to cut the whole thing down, because otherwise it just continues to bolt and it turns into this giant stalk and you can't do anything with it anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you could, that's the thing, right? That's the learning curve, because if you hadn't known, right, when it bolts, you would have been like, fuck, if I wait this thing out for 6 more weeks, I'll have all my spinach seed for next season.
You can take your own spinach seed and
right.
You've got the... Right, you've got the what do you call it? The genetics of your growing season, how it grows, where it grows, what you're putting it in that seed code, which is awesome, right? Like that's how you get better plants. Maybe next year, if you use those seeds, it won't bolt as quick. Things like that. It's
spinach there. Sorry, just spinach there. I thought it was biennial. It's not biennial. All you have to do is get it to bolt. So you just got to stress it.
You got to let it go for a while, though. I got spinach seed once, and it took the entire season to get it. But you will get it.
Kale is biennial, so you actually have to let it basically go all year, almost die. The winter is what shocks it, and then you let it come back the next year, and it will flower. And then those flowers, you wait that whole season for its little pods to produce, and then you get seeds from the pods. We did it. It was
kale
a
seed
long
for the first time that we
yeah.
grew.
But now we've got our own kale seed that's in our climate zone and actually, grown in our climate zone. So we're going to try them this year and do the same idea. We'll do maybe 5 plants. We'll put them somewhere, and they are going to never be harvested. We're just going to let them grow all the way through their cycle for 2 years and take
make sure
their
it's
seed
worth
again,
it, and then
if
take
it's
their
worth
seed.
it. Yeah. So all we should be playing with some pepper seed and tomato seeds and things like that, trying to get our own seed, because in the long run, we would get better, healthier, bigger bunches of fruit because we're creating the seed in our climate. It's learning how to grow how we grow. So
well, no, that's another thing I thought of too, because what we do keep a bunch of our seeds. We don't keep all of our seeds yet, and there's some things that we haven't so another change that we made this year for our garden, because we're doing mostly just growing for the family.
Yeah.
We started thinking what do we eat, right? So really we want to eat a lot of potatoes, a lot of root vegetable things, garlic, onions, that kind of thing, carrot, whatever, right? So that's what we're trying to focus on growing a lot more now. But that's kind of the learning of it, right? So and then figuring out how do you get seeds out of that, right? Because say a potato, as far the only way I know how to grow potatoes is you get a little set potato, or you cut a potato that's got eyes growing on it and you throw that in the garden. But that's a thing where I'm thinking do potatoes make seeds? Are they a biennial?
No, that's how they do it. Actually, they will never reproduce a seed.
So is that budding, or what do you call that?
Slips is what it's called in sweet potatoes. So if you grow a sweet potato, we're about to do it here probably next week. I'm going to go
never done it before. So
no, this will be our first year. So we're going to go buy a bunch of organic sweet potato.
And they're perennial, right?
No.
No, they're one-shot wonder.
One shot, but they will store to basically. I'm trying to treat the sweet potato the way we treat our garlic. So we bought garlic 5 years ago. We've never bought garlic again because we've always saved enough seed.
We save half our seed every year. So this year we have
plant out.
900 garlic planted already.
So we're going to
900
again. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Our goal is
That's what I was wondering too, like how, because like you take that one little clove, I guess that turns into like a head, and then hopefully you get however many off your head.
6 to 8.
And then, so I interrupted you. Sorry. So we'll put a pin in that garlic things. I want to come back to that, but keep going what you're saying there. Because I want to talk more about growing garlic because I suck at growing garlic right now.
Okay, so I want to treat the sweet potato like garlic, I guess. So we are going to make an investment in sweet potato this year. Slip the sweet potato. So essentially, all we're going to do is bury it. So it's just covered in enough dirt to cover it. We're going to leave it in the dark until it forms eyes. They come out of the soil. Then we'll put it under the grow light. We're going to cultivate. Yeah, we're going to cultivate those slips. One sweet potato should give us 3 to 6 slips. We'll let those get 6 inches tall, and then they're going to spend 2 weeks in a cup of water.
And the slip is right at the top of it'll look like a long vine.
Coming out of a potato.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a slip. So you cut it with a piece of the sweet potato still attached.
And then you put it in the cup of water. 2 weeks, it puts roots out, and then we'll plant that out June 1st, hopefully.
It's a full,
and then that'll send down further roots that'll turn into the sweet potatoes.
Turn into tubers, give us more sweet potatoes, and then hopefully
what did you say? It can grow up to 20 pounds of sweet potato?
Yeah, we can get 20 pounds of sweet
potato. Per slip?
Per slip, per plant. Like, you get like 6.
Oh, wow.
Sweet potato.
What is that like yield versus like a regular potato? That sounds like pretty heavy.
Well, you got to think too. With sweet potatoes, much bigger than a normal potato, too,
and
right?
much longer. It grows a lot longer, and even the slip that comes off of it, that slip and vine can grow up to 7-8 feet long. So it actually
takes 7-0?
Yeah,
no, 7 to 8 feet long. Yeah.
7. Okay, 7 to 8. I thought you said 7. You're like, Jesus Christ, you're growing a Jumanji plant in your backyard.
We will be back on the news.
Yeah.
You're gonna have Robin Williams running through your backyard chasing tigers.
Yeah, exactly. There's another job.
Yeah, right. Chasing tigers through the Jumanji garden. Yeah, right.
Yeah, $100.
Yeah.
No, but that's crazy though. I mean, like off a slip like that, and you said you're getting 3 slips off of a cut like that, right?
Yeah, one potato, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, for example, we're doing. I have planned out 2 30-foot beds of sweet potato. They're planted 16 inches apart, so we're looking at we need 20 to 25 slips a bed, roughly.
Yeah.
So that's going to work out to. I'm going to probably buy 10 or 15 sweet potatoes and hope to get enough slips off.
Our goal is for that 30-foot bed to have anywhere from 300 to 400 pounds of sweet potato per bed.
We're hoping.
Well, so like say that again. Then you're starting with 10 potatoes.
15 potatoes. 15
potatoes you're going to start with, and you're hoping to get 200 pounds.
We're hoping to get 3 to 5 slips per potato.
Right.
Each slip can produce a plant that could produce up to 20 to 25 pounds of potato.
Right.
So,
and in a bed, you'll have about 20 to 25 slips or plants.
So we're hoping for 400 pounds of sweet potato in a 35-foot bed.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. If the math works out, I mean, I'm just going based off the math I can research.
And that's it. So it's all about math. But even if you get half of that, even if we're only pulling 150, 200 pounds,
sweet potato goes for good money at the market stand, right?
So. Well, because like I'm thinking for me and my family, right? Like for a year, right? 100 to 200 pounds of potatoes is really all I need, right? So I don't really need like because that's the thing I've been trying to figure out. I've been thinking about doing potato towers. I've been thinking about doing different variations of these. I'm trying to maximize space and grow potatoes. I hadn't considered sweet potatoes, but that might be another route because I'm looking for like your starch, right?
I've got an idea for you. I did potatoes in a broken garbage can. So I broke open the soil and I put the broken part of the garbage can as deep as I can into the soil. And then you put your potatoes in. Once your potatoes grown up so many inches, you can rebury so much of it. And every time you rebury it, it gives another spot where it can start to grow potatoes. So you literally grow your potatoes in this giant garbage can, and every time you rebury it, it adds another area where it can grow another set of potatoes. So you let it. Yeah, there was this one.
That's like a tower. Like I was kind of thinking. Well, I was thinking of doing something similar with like straw and dirt and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep. Same concept. I try to repurpose as much broken things or unused things like that as I can. And then it was 2 or 3 years ago, I had 3 garbage cans and I got about 70 pounds of potatoes out of the 3 of them. So it was enough. Yeah, it was enough to like feed my family and keep around and things like that. So
the only thing with sweet potatoes,
that's wow.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sweet potatoes, the only difference I guess would be they keep a little better than normal potatoes. And if you keep them well enough, you won't need to buy sweet potatoes to slip next year.
Yeah.
Right. Then you could use your tail end of your harvest to recut and go again.
Yeah. And anything.
Ideally, you plan for it too, right? Because you always want to over harvest too.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah. Yep. You always want stuff left over. You always want extras. So anything you can buy once and never hopefully need to buy again, that's what you got to be doing, right?
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that we did recently too. Like this year, I feel like we've been doing a lot of house investments, but one of the things that we did in the last, say, 6 months is we built a cold room.
Right.
And so all we did is we have a basement, so we basically picked a room that was on an outside wall and insulated the interior walls to it and bared open the wall that was to the outside. And so it lets the cold inside. And so basically you have a refrigerator for free. And because it's insulated there, it doesn't get cold in the rest of the house. Yep. And now I can keep my potatoes in there, my garlic in there, my onions in there, my wine in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you need, right?
That's a great idea.
That is,
that's what we had to do because like we want to grow the potatoes, and that's the thing we consider too when we pick crops now is we want to think like what stores the best and that kind of thing because that's what we're trying to think about doing is we're trying to grow for the year, right?
Yeah.
Your garlic. Bring up the garlic. Why,
right, the garlic. Yeah.
Why are you having a hard time growing garlic?
Well, so I feel like a lot of times I plant it next to things that want too much water, and I feel like maybe I drown my garlic because they always turn out kind of like small in the end and not great looking.
Do you ever have them rotting and stuff? We found out you do not want to water your garlic.
Okay, so you want to like kind of like neglect it almost?
Leave it out there. The straw or the wood chips or whatever you're mulching over it.
Yeah.
Like don't water it at all.
Okay, well there's the start. So when you want to have like 4 to 6 inches of straw over your garlic
all winter,
leave it there. It'll sprout up through, and every time it rains, that mulch is going to hold all the water the garlic needs.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to get the melt from the snow on top of there from the overwinter, and then from there you're going to get the rain, and that's really enough. So really, you plant it and you leave it.
Pretty much. Go and weed it. Like make sure there's no weed pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't need to worry about irrigating garlic.
Another thing too, Google, because garlic is actually poisonous to a lot of other plants. There's a lot of plants that it will not grow next to, and or vice versa. A plant will not grow next to it.
I know we've Googled companion planting to make sure we planted it next to like preferential plants.
And
so we had that going, but I think the thing we had was usually it was next to a more thirsty plant. And that's what I think it was, is we were watering it too much. Because I think we had a similar problem with our onions. Have you guys grown onions at all?
We tried bulb onions last year. The bulbs weren't great quality that we got, in fairness. We're going to try from seed this year because our friend Rebecca down in the States, she has really great success with growing her onions from seed as opposed to bulb. She says they're a lot more dependable. So we're going to give it a shot, see what happens. Again, the issue is with us, we're operating on limited space. So some crops just don't bring enough money to the farm stand to put that kind of investment in. Like onions aren't quick. Green onions, they're quicker, but bulb onions aren't quick whatsoever.
We did find out, though, that onion actually plants really well and is a companion plant for peppers. So if you have a permanent row of peppers somewhere, you can run the onion about 8-10 inches right next to the root system in the same bed. So that's why we do our 30-inch beds, right? Because we have so many different companion planting, interplanting, things like that we do, as well as our full rotations. And
that's making me think that maybe I could reconsider planting my onions in my dome next to my pepper plants because I kind of planted them a little more sparingly with space. And if I have more of that space, because generally, I mean, onions, they're not throwing up big foliage, right? They're and if I plant them in next to like peppers or onions, and if I trim the bottoms off there, I'll get enough light in there anyways. So that might be actually a good idea to get more onions out of what I'm doing.
The other thing we're trying this year, because he looked it up, there's a guy that grows his onion and he puts 3 of them together, like a little
It's like a little triangle.
And they push.
Like 3 seeds, you mean?
3 bulbs, I guess.
3 bulbs, and they're all very close. So as they grow, they actually push off each other, which increases the growth. It's so just something else we've seen and read.
They're like mutually stressing each other.
Yeah, we haven't yet,
because they're planted too close to each other, but they have the room on the outside to grow, so they have somewhere to push. So they're fighting each other all season for space, but they have the space. It's like you're kind of
they got the flat side and they push out the bulb on the outside.
Exactly. So that's how we're going to go about planting them this year in order to try and again maximize
we usually try a couple systems and things like that and see which one at the end actually produces the highest, per square foot poundage. That is our biggest goal, right? Is when we look at things, we're not just looking at the money and the yield, but the amount of per square foot. What did we get out? And that's how we can continue to do such high volumes.
Well, that's the really big thing, especially when you're dealing with limited space. And like that's a cool thing that I like when we talk to Superior Gardener too. She mentioned she tries to plant by like a square foot sort of idea, right? She's like, what can I jam into a square foot? Yep. And then go from just that one unit and then go to the rest of your garden, right? Yep. And the cool thing about that is that one small unit, you can put one of those here, there. It's a Lego block now, right?
Yeah.
And that it makes it kind of modular, and that's the kind of cool thing that I like about gardening. As I start to learn more about it, is once you start to understand certain basic principles, you can, and especially when it comes to like organization and your planning and your sort of how you're going to lay stuff out, you can plug and play these sort of different systems with each other and see what works, right?
Not nearly as rigid as our grandmothers all taught us. Like, you got to leave 1.5 foot between each row and, like, don't go near that.
Single lines.
Yeah, no. It's not nearly as rigid as they made it sound, right? We have you ever looked into the actual square foot method, like Elliot Coleman's?
No, I've never looked into it. We talked to her about it, and I like the idea. I think that would be probably my project for this year going to next year for planning, because, like, I kind of made a plan. I'm bad about like switching plans when I hear new cool ideas. So I'm like, I'm sticking to the plan I got this year, which is like a little more basic. Yeah. But I think like something more like that, where I'm going to start really trying to maximize square footage again. That'll be like this year's learning into next year's planting project. But so what was the author you mentioned?
Elliot Coleman. He's like the granddaddy of market gardening. Like Jean-Martin Fortier wouldn't exist without Elliot Coleman because his system is based off of his. So, essentially, the rule of thumb is you can fit 6 small plants in a square foot.
4 small plants, 2 medium.
Yeah, 4. Yeah. Well, no, because spinach you can fit 6. So there's got to be a bend in that rule somewhere.
5 beds at 30 inches. That's
5
square foot.
Anyway, it's like 4, 2, and 1. It's not overly complicated. Yeah. And it works every time.
Yeah, it's
pretty
great.
Much.
It's like 4 small plants, 2 medium, 1 large is your square foot, and that's how you kind of. Yeah.
And that's how we get 45 broccoli plants in a 30-inch bed that's only 30 feet long.
Yeah.
Well, because like, and hearing that too, like I'm thinking, because like I've tried to do like triangle sort of patterns and stuff like that, where I end up leaving a lot of space in between. And I hear about how much yield you're getting out of like that small of a space, and I'm like, I feel like I got to plant more stuff in it. I really got to learn that, because I have fairly good sized beds. Like I have a 6x12 bed, a 6x12 bed, a 6x8 bed. I have a 4x10, and then I have another sort of odd shaped kidney bed. And like that's a lot of real estate, and if I kind of learn how to maximize that, growing enough for me is really not going to be an issue. I just really got to drill in on the particulars there.
Turn one of your beds into the 30 inches, and then a 10-inch walkway, and then a 30-inch, and just play with it. Test what you can get in there. See how many plants you can fit in, beams and all that jazz.
There's a few books, like if you were to read some of, like, have you ever read The Market Gardener by Jean-Martin Fortier or any of those? Like,
no, I've heard a couple of those. I've looked into a couple of those things, and then I kind of like found a certain sort of style, and then I started talking mostly just to regular people. So this is the new thing I'm hearing, where I'll have to get back into learning again.
I guess what I would recommend is like maybe look at, because that's where our system comes from, is like a large market garden system.
Basically, yeah.
But it's very easily scaled down to the size in which you're trying to grow to, right? Like, all it gave us is like, how many rows of this fits in the bed? And this is why it's 30 inches. Now, if you go and look at your beds and pick out 30-inch spaces, you'll know, okay, that may only be 2 feet long, but I can still fit 5 deep of spinach rows through there in that 2 feet. And all you do is space that planting out by 2 weeks, and now you have spinach for 2 weeks out of 30 inches by 2 feet.
Yeah, no, that's what I got to do.
That's the real going there.
You'd get basically 5 plants in your width, and then every square foot you're moving forward, you're getting another 5 plants, 5 plants, 5 plants.
Yeah.
So it becomes, when you're cutting 10 to 15 spinach plants every week, you actually get a good yield.
Yeah.
And then even when you start to like die out, if you know that you're about to cut or remove those plants in, let's say, 4 weeks, you start bean plants. So your beans are already 4 weeks ahead. So when the spinach comes out, the bean seedlings are, you already skipped 4 weeks of the cycle. So you definitely will get a yield of beans, if not something else afterwards. It's all about having something to replace it as well. And that's just, your rotations become crazy.
That was something I tried last year there I made it was the second time I did, where I did a rotation where I had peas going in after or before beans, and then my peas going in after that, and I had peas going in late too. And then I kind of scattered them throughout the yard too, just to see if they would go anywhere else.
One thing we're trying this year, they do it at a couple farms we follow. They do fall tomatoes. So once the garlic comes out, they'll have a determinant. Typically, the pole big tomato is what they tend to do this with. It's like a medium-sized beefsteak tomato on a determinant plant. They'll have like a 1.5 to 2 foot tall tomato plant ready to go once the garlic leaves, like mid-July. And they'll plant the tomato in there, and that gives it just enough time to put out some fair-sized, big, ripe beefsteak tomatoes by the end of September if you get the weather. Because we all know once your garlic comes out, it's kind of an awkward time frame. Yeah. Like, you're the mid of July, end of July. You need something that's going to come fairly quickly that you don't have to do a lot of work to the bed to get going. And with the mulch left over from your garlic, it's perfect to keep your tomatoes. Because what I learned this year is determinate beefsteak tomatoes, a lot of those varieties are drought tolerant. So if you have the mulched bed from the garlic holding the moisture in the soil, and then you throw a drought tolerant tomato in there, it's going to take off like wildfire, right? Because it's moist all the time from the straw, but it's not getting big drinks that'll shock it. So I don't know. It's a neat idea. We're going to try it.
Switch, and the big thing too is you're going from a root vegetable to a fruit. So as long as you're not rotating root,
thank you.
That, right?
How'd you know?
The kids went to bed, and she's back.
I'm back.
That's something to know about beans or peas or anything like that. Well, no, not peas, but beans. Mainly beans.
Beans and peas are the same. They're both legumes.
Beans are actually a nitrogen balancer. So they will balance the nitrogen in the soil. So if you ever have like carrots or anything that has like a root that has hair on it, that's because the nitrogen's all wonky. A bean plant, when you put that in the ground, it forms little nodes on the end of its root system. And those nodes are pure nitrogen that is actually dissolvable by any other type of plant looking for it. So when you do a rotation of beans, you're actually balancing your soil again. All our plants, when we go and we cut our plants, I think Tom said this earlier, we go down about an inch, half inch of the soil, and we leave the root system always of every plant that we cut out. It's a natural peat moss, aeration, and anything else that's left in the plant will then leach back into the soil. It's kind of
and that nitrogen you want too for that next foliage or that next crop, right? Because that's where you want the nitrogen heavy parts.
Exactly, to grow the plant that much quicker and better. And again, because the bean has it in those little nodes, it's dissolvable by any other plant looking for it. It's a cool little weird feature that a lot of people don't really know. I just learned it about beans last year.
Because that's the old verbiage. The old verbiage is your best carrots come after your first beans.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it worked.
That makes sense.
It worked great.
And most of the plotting he would do is anything that finished carrots this year starts beans. So we're balancing it back again before we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I love the harmony of how it all kind of comes together once you start getting it. It's like there's something. It's
The
I want to call it art. Like it's there's something
a way of
beautiful
life.
about it. Well, it is. I mean, you kind of have to commit to it. Like even so, this year we have to go to the States because my sister's getting married, and we have to go to the wedding and all that kind of thing. And like we have this whole garden plan, and I'm like, well, now I'm not going to be here for a couple of weeks, and that's a little bit stressful. Like, I mean, we'll put someone here and they'll water it, but I'm like, we got this thing we're doing.
yeah. Yeah.
Can you go and like prune every second pepper leaf off? Like,
Yeah.
I know it's.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah, and then I want this many parts of this fertilizer and this many parts of this fertilizer, and I want that on every second day,
I'm gonna leave it
on every
rest
second row.
spice mix and like here's how to make comfrey tea. So
Yeah.
like, please do those things.
Don't
while
drink
I'm
it.
gone.
Don't
Yeah.
drink it.
Yeah.
It's not real tea.
Yeah. And keep the dog out of the garden.
For God's
Yeah.
sakes.
Oh my God. It's we both have a dog, and it took a lot of years before my dog started walking the paths of my garden. Oh, like 4 probably.
This guy's too dumb.
Yeah, and Brutus, God love him. He's a big
He's-
monster of a man. He just tramples things.
We put up fences, and where the fences are, she's pretty good about. But then we took them down, and now the winter, the problem is she goes and walks on the frozen beds.
Yeah.
So it's like a bad habit right now. She's like, why can't I walk on this now? I could walk on it 3 months ago. What's the difference?
Exactly.
It was green at one time and I couldn't touch it, and it was white and I can, and now
I'm gonna be smart and go.
Okay, you gotta go. You gotta
Very
go.
nice to see you guys, meet you guys, and
All right.
everything. Just I'll get home before the storm actually hits. If it
Yeah,
fucking
good
hits.
plan. It
But-
is.
Well, drive safe. Take care.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Yeah, take care. All right, bud.
All right, man. We'll see you Saturday, buddy.
Yeah, you guys have a crazy amount of knowledge. I mean, it's great. It's great talking to you guys. Like, I mean, and I love that. Like, I find there is a lot of people kind of getting into this. Let me ask this question also too. How old are you?
I'm 34 in June.
Okay, 34. I feel like there's like probably between 30 and 40 to maybe 50 is like well, that's a pretty long range, but 30 to 40 especially. No, but 30 to 40 especially. I feel like there's a lot of people that are roughly our
I'd
age.
say younger. I'd
Yeah?
say starting at like maybe 25.
I
Younger people get.
disagree with the 25, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I feel
I'd say there's a lot of people 30 to 40 who are getting really interested in this because I think they're having families. They're reconsidering a lot of ways of life and stuff like that. Because I think when you start having kids and stuff, you start after thinking a little more practically about some things.
I think a lot of it has to do with the unfortunate thing too is like the economy in Canada isn't particularly awesome right now, and I think food instability is a giant fucking issue that a lot of people aren't really talking about enough, I guess I'll say.
Yep.
I think I read the stat, like, it's almost 20% of Canadians don't have enough money to keep their fridge with enough food to maintain their household right now. So if you could take, you know, a little bit of knowledge, $100 in seed, and a little bit of sweat and get $300 worth of groceries out of it right now, that's worth your summer's work in my eyes every single time, especially if you have young kids and stuff on the go. Like, money isn't going as far as it used to. So I think when you say like 29 to 39, let's say, we're the ones who are feeling the pinch of the money, right?
Yeah.
The younger bunch, they still have their student loans. They're still fucking around, doing whatever they're doing. They have this gig economy that some of us will never figure out. And we're stuck in a different dimension, kind of. Like, we were the first ones to have cell phones. We're the only ones who will ever remember what life was like before them. And that's why we're the first ones to put our hands in the dirt.
We're in-betweeners.
Yeah, we're like, well, I'm a millennial technically, I guess, but I have a lot more traits of the Gen X generation, I think, than the millennial one. And then whatever this generation that wanders the streets like cell phone zombies is now, I don't know, but they're here. So I'm going to try the best.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, but yeah, I think there is those people who are feeling the pinch. And like, when I think too, to like when times got tough in history, like when people had like, say, when it was war times, people grew gardens.
The Victory
And
Garden.
really, yeah, victory gardens. Exactly. That's exactly what they call them. And that's, well, you think about it, like times get tough, and you think about like what seeds really cost. You get a pack of seeds for like $2, and that one seed can produce a plant, and that plant produces all kinds of fruit. And in that one fruit, just one fruit, there's like a dozen, 20, seeds, or however many seeds there is. Right? Like, there's a lot of seeds.
I guess the barrier to entry there is the knowledge to know, like, how to plant that seed, how to get the fruit. Then it's how to make sure the seed becomes viable in that fruit. Because, like, you can't just... You see the fucking meme on the internet of the dude who takes the green pepper from the grocery store. Oh, there's so many seeds, I can grow a field of green. You can't. That doesn't work that way because those seeds aren't viable yet in that green pepper. The seeds...
It was plucked early.
Yeah, like well, not to mention most of them are blasted with chemicals beyond belief. But at the end of the day, a pepper seed isn't viable till that pepper's like pretty fucking gross. Like, you're not going to eat the pepper the viable seed comes from. You know what I mean? So,
right.
If you don't know that, and if you don't know how to check your seeds under a light box in order to see if they look right when you put them through, you can. And then again, the knowledge past that is how to save the seed so it's still viable next season. Like, there's a blog post right there on how to do all that. And, if people aren't going to go find that information, or if they don't want that information, it's just a waste of time. A good example is we did a workshop series last year. No, it wasn't a workshop series. We did Buds and Suds at a local bar. So we were at a bar with another greenhouse grower in town. We helped people plant and pot up some stuff, and they went home with seeds, and they could ask us questions. It was a great time. But I had this woman, and she was like probably 55. She comes up to me with a 6-inch round pot, and it looks like she's growing grass in it. And she comes up, and she goes, "Dear, what do I do next with my carrots?" I said, "Fuck you, throw them out and start over." Like I was saving a 6-inch pot full of like overcrowded, it's not happening. So she didn't like that response, but that's the truth. She's like, "Well, it's wasted seed. That's a sin." And I was like, "Ugh, come on. Like, let's be real here. Like, you made the mistake, not the seed. The seed did its job."
I heard my grandmother's voice there. That's a sin, boy. That's a sin. My grandmother's from Newfoundland.
Oh, okay, great.
So I wonder, do you guys have a lot, like you said you're from PEI, right? Do you guys got a lot of the same sort of sayings and stuff? Like I hear a bit of the accent. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like, little touch of the PEI culture. Like I don't know nothing about you guys other than potatoes.
Okay. PEI culture. We're 20 years too late. There's a lot of people who are unemployed here in the winter. Like, we're a very seasonal province.
Yeah, Newfoundland's like that too.
Yeah, I'd say we draw a lot of similarities to Newfoundland. Our accent is as thick, and we don't really make up as many words as they do. Like,
they're a little more creative.
Yeah, like I've been to Newfoundland, and they'll say something to you, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fucking nod and hope they weren't insulting me." I guess I don't know. Like,
yeah.
When I was over there? What is it? Batter the large E's out of here, and that's like supposed to be like get the fuck out of here. But it's like,
yeah,
like you told me to like batter some largies and like get them. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Well, when I went, I hadn't been back home, is what you always call it. So like my dad is the Newfie, and he moved to where my mom was from, Vermilion Bay, this little town in northern Ontario. So when you go to Newfoundland, it's always going back home.
Yeah.
So anyways, I went back home, and I was talking to my cousin Justin, and I was telling him a story, and I'm like, yeah, telling the story, and then he says, "Go on, bye, go on." I'm like I thought he was like saying I was full of shit. I didn't know how to proceed with the conversation. I'm like, I don't know what you mean by that. He's like, no, like cool story is what I'm saying, kind of, you know.
Or like it's like LA apostrophe. It's like Wanla, and they're just like, what? It's like, what is that? It's like, well, who's La, and why can't you get your real name right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then when you said the Jesus thing, it reminded me of what was it? Round the pond, stuck in the mud, Jesus, boy. It was something that my dad's cousin used to say.
There's an Irish saying that I really appreciate. So when someone's like full of shit and they're just like spewing out garbage, the expression is on your bike. So it's like, get on your bike and get the fuck out of my house, essentially, because you're full of shit.
Yeah.
To say that to someone when they don't know it's coming and like they're filling you full of shit and you're just like, oh, get on your bike. They're just like, I didn't grow up. You're on your bike. On your bike.
Yeah, get on your bike and get the fuck out of here.
I don't need whatever you're selling. Just get back on your bike with your castles in your basket and go on home.
Yeah. No, but I kind of love going, like, I haven't been back there in a long time now. I haven't been there since 2012, I think.
Wow.
And, like, I don't know, every time I go back there, I'm always struck by, like, how warm the people are there, too. Like I don't know if it's, like, the same thing in PEI. Like, people don't have much, but so, like, they seem to be kind of generous. And now, mind you, where my dad comes from is a very small town, and it's an isolated, like, old fishing community.
Right.
So, like, maybe that's a little bit different, too, because I think when you get a little more, like, urban and stuff, times get a little harder and people get a little harder,
Yeah, I think the issue, it's very similar here on PEI. I think the problem is we got this stereotype of, like, Canada's food island, but in reality, like, they're not celebrating food here. They're celebrating lobster and potatoes. And the fishing industry is great. The potato industry is what it is. But I just wish we could be known for something a little more than Anna Green Gables, lobster, and fucking potatoes. Those are, Anna Green Gables is a tourist trap, essentially. Potatoes are monoculture garbage at the root. Like, you can't keep growing potatoes on the same sandbar for 100 years and expect the soil to survive. Like, at some point, the soil here is going to die, and then the whole industry is going to go away. And then, lobster's great. I don't have anything against fishermen. They work fucking hard for their money. But Canada's food island, I guess, is one thing about PEI that I've always found was a little bit of a gripe. Like, I hate that saying a lot. But I don't know. I love it here. It's small town. There's no big town feel here anywhere. I'm at the point, like, you guys said you want to talk about beers tonight, and the reality is, like, I've tried every craft beer PEI has, every single one of them. And we ran out after 2 seasons of, individually picking out a different beer. And little things like that start to wear on you a little bit. It starts to feel too small sometimes. I'm sure Newfoundland's very much the same, especially some of those little fishing villages and stuff. And that's, I guess, where Sudbury's probably a little nicer, because you guys can kind of disappear a little bit if you need to and do your own thing and not really be bothered. Whereas for me and Dan to get into what we're doing, we had to be ridiculed for 2.5 years as crazy fucking people. And the whole town knows, like, those guys are fucking nuts. And then now it's, but how do we book them to do the cooking demo? Or how do we get in touch with them or whatever? So hard work pays off out here the same as it would anywhere else. But you got to take your licks, I guess, because it's a small town and you're going to take them at the end of the day. It's a great big sandbar small town. That's the way it works.
No, that like, so, like, I'm not from Sudbury originally, but you're right in saying that Sudbury does have a lot of, you get the best of both worlds. You get, like, a little bit of a kind of a small town feel, but you have a lot of access to big city. You have a lot of access to, like, city type amenities, right? So you kind of got the best of both worlds. But where I used to come from, like, in a small town, even like us getting as much involved with like thinking about food security and talking about, like, no, food is important. Where does our food come from? All this kind of stuff. A lot of people that like we're our friends and all that kind of stuff, like, they're like, they love us and they're like, oh, that's great, you're doing that, but they don't, like, get it.
Oh, we can go down that, man, if you want to. Like, one of our biggest things is trying to explain to people what the difference is. Like, they're like, well, yeah, I can go get, a 16-ounce bag of spinach at the grocery store and pay $1 less. And it's like, yeah, but, like, that came from fucking Brazil. That was basically preserved in a truck to get here to be ripe for the 6 days in the grocery store. Dan's younger brother works at Sobeys, like that's a grocery store chain. I'm sure you guys have something similar up there. Anyway, he called us one day and he said, "Can you guys do anything with bananas?" And I said, well, I mean, we can dry the outsides and use it for potassium, and whatever else we'll just compost. No big deal. So he shows up with 10 full crate boxes of bananas that wouldn't ripen fast enough at Sobeys, so they put them in the dumpster. And that's the side of the game that the people who are like, well, the grocery store is cheaper and it's the same quality. Well, the reality is it's not the same quality. It's cheaper, sure, but it costs a lot of other things in different ways. Like, you're talking about something that was probably on a plane, train, and an automobile in order to get to that grocery store. And somehow, and then no one thinks back to the very beginning, like, what did that fucking farmer in Brazil get paid for those 16 ounces of spinach? For it to be still worth money at $7.99 when it gets to Superstore. He got paid 13 cents. That's essentially, like, and I know it's a shitty word to use, but it's slave labor. And, you know, people don't want to see that. And unfortunately, again, it comes back to the economy. They don't have the ability to make any choices to change it, you know? Like, they need to save that fucking dollar at the grocery store. And I can't blame them for telling me these things. I can't. I never get upset at anybody, but then I'll tell them, well, have you ever looked into the difference in nutritional value between homegrown spinach and the grocery store spinach? Or home cultivated eggs versus grocery store eggs? Joel Salatin, he's a farmer famous for the Poly Farm.
White Oak Pastures?
Yeah, creator of the chicken tractor, essentially. He did a test with his free-range eggs versus grocery store eggs. The number one nutrient your body needs to repair cells, and in repairing cells, it avoids anomalies such as cancer cells, is riboflavin, okay? We need it. Every day we need riboflavin. We're all deficient in it. He tested his eggs versus grocery store eggs, which is our number one source as normal folks of getting riboflavin. He has 10% more, or 10 times more riboflavin in his eggs than what's in the grocery store.
Wow.
That probably extrapolates out to damn near everything else that's grown in your garden versus what you can buy in a grocery store.
Well, and then think about that investment there. Like, think about how much money people want to say we want to spend more additionally on healthcare every year. And think about, like, so I've heard someone say before, like, the amount of money we spend on healthcare now versus how much we used to spend on diet. We used to spend like 30% of our house incomes on like diet. Now we spend like 20% or something like that, but we spend way more on healthcare. And you want to think about, like how you're saying right there, if you're getting a healthier egg from a healthier chicken, you're getting an essential nutrient that's you're getting 10 times more of that nutrient, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is, like, basically you're going to have healthier food, which makes healthier people, which don't need as much healthcare and all these other costs. Like, you're actually saving money kind of in the long run by having healthier people. And then also they're not on SSRIs and other antidepressants and stuff like that because they're pumped full of chemicals and other bullshit.
Well, that's the thing too, right? I think if you're going to get into using the word healthcare, I think that word needs to be something that's reevaluated in general. I think it's petrochemical care. Like, they don't give, like, if you go to the doctor and there's something wrong with you, it's a pill or it's a drug, it's something. It's never a, well, let's look at your lifestyle. Let's look at what you're fucking eating every day. Like,
yeah.
I read a study once that every single shrimp on planet Earth has micro doses of cocaine in it from how much was dumped in the oceans in the 80s.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Put that into perspective, though, when you start talking about, like, how many antibiotics and how much Tylenol people are excreting from their bodies into the sewer systems that are going back into the oceans, too. Like, you have animals that have no goddamn right in the world to have antibiotics in them, with antibiotics in them right now. And you're harvesting them and eating them. Like, the tuna here, tuna is a giant industry for about 6 weeks here on PEI. You get your license, you catch a tuna, it gets sold. We can't eat the fucking tuna in Canada because the mercury levels are too high, so it goes over to Asia.
Because they'll eat it.
Like, we can't eat the tuna caught off the shores here. It's like, well, if that's not a problem past, just find someone else who will buy it, like I read a bodybuilder's blog, and he's been in Europe for the last 6 weeks eating butter, milk. He's let his whole diet go. He's still working out. He's lost 7 pounds just from his body not having the additives that are in North American food. Like, we're eating things we don't even know what it is on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that's what's making
the processed feed oils, the margarine, and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of what that stuff is, in the preservatives, right? Because even with us too, like, we want things also that last on the shelf a long time.
Of course,
things that are natural, so it's again going back to the dollar thing, right? I don't want my $5 to spoil on the shelf back home. I want me to get through eating it, right? Because of the, you know what I'm getting at, right?
I 100% get you. And I was just going to say, I listened to a professor's TED Talk, and he was relating the dollar to calories, right? So if you only had $1 to spend at the grocery store, and that was your only dollar for food the entire day. Now, mind you, this is an older TED Talk, so $1 literally can buy you nothing at the grocery store now. But he was making a comparison then of, if you went and bought $1's worth of vegetables, you're going to get, let's say, an apple. Okay. If you go and buy $1's worth of chocolate or junk food, for example, you're going to get a significantly higher caloric value that will keep your body running for longer. And that's the fucking problem fundamentally, right? If I can't survive off good food because I'm broke, I have to survive off shit food because I'm broke. And I'll survive, but I'm going to be sick all the time.
Yep. Well, even for me, like, growing up too, where, like, both of my parents, I think, grew up where, like, you worried about money, right? So, like, when I was growing up, I remember we ate stuff like fish sticks and canned beans, and, like, we ate, like, cheap, kind of, like, easy to preserve stuff. And then going from just, like, that being a normal diet to, like, Sophia and her family, where everything is even just a slight change of just meat and potatoes and, like, not a whole lot of spice and stuff, but it was all home cooked stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't as much preserved. Now, mind you, my mother now totally changed her cooking style and stuff like that. Like, it's a whole evolution thing. Because, I mean, when we were growing up too, and when she was growing up, you didn't know. Like, when I was growing up, margarine was good. Well, margarine was supposed to be better, and then you find out, actually, no, it's like an industrial lubricant, and you shouldn't eat that.
Well, that's or
is that up for a debate?
Well, no, it's not up for a debate. It kind of makes me think of, do you remember, like, all the hoopla about how red meat was giving us colon cancer and, like, all that?
I can't get behind anyone telling me that when people eat meat, it makes them sick. When people have been eating meat, like, one of the things that in theory led to us developing the brain capacity that we have today, which led us to have the ability to build cities and all this other stuff, was we learned how to cook meat. It gave us access to, like, an abundance of calories we didn't have access to before, and fat, which helped us develop stronger brains and blah, 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 blah. Like, so you can't tell me that meat's bad for people. Like, I can get behind that we harvest meat in the wrong way. I can get behind that we do a lot of bad practices, but you can't tell me meat's, like, bad for you.
No, what the problem with meat is fucking McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King. Don't blame me and you for how much meat we're fucking eating. How about we blame the 1 billion served with a goddamn smile on their face for the disgusting meat product they have to roll out in the thousands of pounds daily?
Yeah, with sick animals that are like you don't like the cow I eat. The cow I eat, I know for sure that cow is healthy. The pig I eat, I know that pig's healthy because I can go to the farm and see it.
My cows are right down the road at the Mennonite farm, literally half a kilometer down here. And if I want hamburger, I'll go knock on the door and get some. I can go pet the damn thing the year before it's done, so.
Yeah, and they're happy doing cow shit. They're not miserable animals. Like, I mean, it might be a hippie thing, but, like, when people say, like, you are what you eat, I think if you eat a miserable animal, you're going to be a miserable person.
Well, it's energy, right? At the end of the day, like we're in this dimension right now, and that comes down to ebbs and flows and energy. So if that cow has a fucking traumatic life, it's not going to produce like good energy as a meat product. Like your cattle have to have some semblance of enjoyment during their life. Like, yeah, they're raised for slaughter, but that doesn't mean they have to be treated as such.
Yeah, well, you think about like what kind of food system would you want to live in? Like if you want to be like a real adult about it, I think about like, we're going to eat meat because meat is like a super dense calorie source. The fat is great. It's so much great. Like it's great for our hormone. It's like there's so many benefits to eating meat.
You need
Now, if we want to do that as healthy as possible, we want to do that as humane as possible, we have to have certain ethics for growing it. And then, and then you want to look at when you're growing your crops too. How do we grow crops in a way that it doesn't totally take away from the soil? And it kind of like, think about this long term. We're playing a long term game. I feel like people nowadays, like, and you see this too, where people don't want to have families too. They're thinking within their own lifetime. Where like, if you go back 2 generations, people thought over 100-year, 200-year periods. Like they thought like, my kids, my kids' kids. People think now like, I'm going to get mine and get out. I'm going to cash out and that's it. Bye.
These things are creating a steady need for instant gratification, right? And that's the problem, right? Like having a child is not instant gratification. It's a long fucking grind to see that gratification at the end of it. It's not instant. I don't have children, but Dan has a child. I understand it. I was a kid. My parents struggle. I know what that was about. So things like that, like they don't suit people anymore. And then again, it comes down to the economy too, right? Some of these folks, I know right now, if I didn't live where I live, it would be a serious struggle to find somewhere to live where I could afford the life I have and have the farm. Like rents are climbing to an astronomical rate that doesn't meet the wages. And if I was fucking 20 years old right now, man, I'd be terrified. I couldn't imagine caring about another human being. I'd be more concerned about feeding myself.
Yeah.
So I can't blame them in a way, but at the same time, the need for instant gratification and the fact that nobody can see past, this far in front of their face anymore to see the long game, it troubles me a little bit. I won't lie to you.
Well, like when I think about that a lot lately too, and at work I talked to a younger guy there at work, and he tells me about like how a lot of kids his age, or a lot, I say kids, he's an adult, but I mean a lot of guys his age is a young man, right?
Yeah.
And they got, why would they have kids? There's nothing about anything that anyone's saying about the future prospects that tells them they should have kids. And I know that like really, when you look at sort of on a long-term scale, the problem we have is actually people haven't had enough kids, and there's going to be a bunch of aging old people who need a lot of service, and there's no young people to take care of them. And then actually, more importantly, is that there's not enough people like in our age group that are going to be consumers and investors going into their 40s and 50s, because that's when you're supposed to be going into your prime investing years.
Yeah.
And so that's a real problem. So ironically, we actually, we need more people. But you can't blame them, like you're saying, though, right? Because that's the thing I'm trying to figure out is like, I mean, how do you tell them to have hope and want to invest in the future when, I mean, like it's going to be more of a grind for them even than it is someone in our age group probably.
Well, I think what opened my eyes was one of my younger nephews was talking about. His teacher at school was talking to them about retirement and how they need to start saving at 15 years old for retirement. That would be the smart age to start saving. 15 years old, man. I wanted like beer out the back of somebody's trunk of their car and maybe to have enough gas money for the weekend. And they're telling kids to fucking start retirement savings plans at 15. Yeah, I'm sure it's a great idea. It's not realistic, though. So that tells me at 34 that, like, there's not going to be very much money left here around soon. Like, if they're telling kids that young to start getting ready for the end of their life, and I am just starting to prepare for the end of mine now, I'm fucked. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, like, well, one of the things they talk about is like, say, the boomers, right? They're a huge generation in comparison to us, right? And the amount of money that we are, just if you go by size, and I mean, there's a lot of argument that basically, like, because like you mentioned, being maybe on the tail end of the millennial, um, I don't like. There is a suggestion that we don't have the economic power to really drive the economy to sort of keep up with the boomer services and then also provide for the upcoming generation, right? It's a big stress because the thing that the boomers kind of had going for them, it was like post-war, there was a lot of abundance. The sort of double-edged sword of war thing is that like economies boom after it because a lot of people died and a lot of debts that were kind of go away and all these other sort of economic things that you don't think of. They had to totally rebuild Europe. And then on top of that, they had a surplus of like basically machinery and petroleum, which is your fertilizer boom that we get through the 40s and 50s, which leads to these huge, massive, giant scale farms that we have, which leads to the huge population boom we have.
well, yeah, you're right there. The food system as it sits starts to get destroyed around the 50s and 60s, right? Because that's when the boomers were all starting to happen, and they had so many more mouths to feed that they didn't look at it the smart way and say, how can we at a government level entice people to start farms? Like, that's one thing me and Dano say all the time to everybody, because people call us a garden, they call us whatever, we call ourselves a farm. And it's kind of a fuck you to the government in a way, because at the end of the day, they won't let us register as a hobby farm. We can't register as a normal farm because we don't fit their bullshit criteria. When in the reality subject is we're growing almost 8,000 pounds off of almost a quarter of an acre. The potato farming industry at its best pulls in 11,000 pounds of potatoes an acre. So what you're telling me is a nutritionally dense and diverse, regenerative, sustainable project that can outgrow a fucking commercial potato grower isn't allowed to be called a farm on Prince Edward Island, and you want me to care. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's pretty strongly stated.
It's heavy, man. Like, but at the end of the day, I have the numbers to back those receipts up. So I'm not really concerned.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I wonder going forward too. Is like
I have to go put our other little one to bed, so I'll talk.
You duck back out.
Yeah, I'll leave and then maybe I'll come back, maybe not.
You never know.
Yeah, but no, that makes me think about like going forward in the future. Like I wonder about. Like, so the trend I understand in the market when it comes to mass farming right now is they want to move towards AI and like data collection and stuff like that. Like they want to turn everything into a data set and a grid, which makes sense. Like if you're a tech guy, like it makes like you see it and the data, like you're like, holy shit, this is perfect. We can manage everything. We can all these different variables. I'm super skeptical when I see like that at scale, and I'm also like I don't know, like to me it makes more sense that we get more people in smaller communities on smaller scale farms doing a lot of stuff to serve different communities. Like we need like a decentralization of food, not a centralization.
I agree very highly with that. We need more smaller farms is what we need. Like, we need it to be profitable and worthwhile for folks to start a small 1 acre farm. Like, I've read stories about farms that are doing 165 person CSA off an acre of market gardening in the style in which me and Dano grow. That's a lot of people, man. 165 people off an acre of land. You couldn't do that in a commercial standpoint. Like, they'll say, well, yeah, you could. Well, sure, you can grow an acre of wheat for 165 people who can't process it and can't do anything with it once you give it to them. Like, you can't. We've done the production side of it. So a 1 acre farm that does 165 person CSA for 25 weeks. It exists in North America, in our grow zone. It can be done. And frankly, the excuses are just getting kind of silly in my mind. Like, we need AI to do something we've been doing for 100 years. No, we need it to be worthwhile for people to get back into it, is what we need to do.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
so that's another road that I get to too, where like, because like that's the real point that you made right there. It needs to be worthwhile for people to get back into it, because this is the thing that I wonder about, because I want people to be more involved in this kind of stuff, but I'm always trying to figure out how do we sell it to them. Now, like short of like so basically the way our government's set up now and the way our culture's set up now, it's towards this globalized economy that's based on consumption, right? It's got no real concept of like long-term growth or regeneration or anything like that. There is some turning of that. There's some turning of that. There's some investment in that, but it still has this central planning sort of vibe to it, and it has to kind of boil down to like, you're right, there has to be an incentive for it. So like that's the thing I wonder about, is like, how much do you want to get involved with, say, your local governments and different governments on different scales to make sure that you can have this be a thing in the future, versus how much do you just take like almost an agorist point of view, where it's like, listen, we know what's right as the people, we're going to start going doing stuff, and you government people will figure it out after, like we're just going to do it. Because like, I feel like there's not a lot of support for it, but I feel like it's the right thing to do. And the people who are doing it, like, I want them to do it more and better. I want to help them as much as I can. But I feel like my thinking is like legislation wise and stuff going forward, we see more centralization, not decentralization.
I don't know how to say this without sound like I'm wearing my tinfoil hat, but like, I don't trust the Canadian government, I guess. Like, I don't think governments are designed at this point for us to decentralize. They want us tighter. They want us in these 15-minute cities with our food shipped into us. They don't want people who know how to do things. The meme is as accurate as ever. Your grandma survived the Great Depression because her food was local and she knew how to do stuff. There's people now who don't even know they don't know how to fucking talk on the phone, man. And you're talking about growing food.
Yeah.
Like
no, you're right. I mean, like, I kind of razz people, like, I'll say, like, you know, sports ball, right? Like, everyone's real hyped up on the World Juniors and sports ball and all that. And like, that's great. I get it. It's fun. But like, also then, like, people's got no interest, like, they don't care where their food comes from. They just don't.
Bread and circuses, man, right? That's how they kept everyone at home from knowing the place was falling apart. Bread and circuses. And, you know, that's kind of where we're at, as, like, sadly, a lot of the population seems to be that way right now. Like, they're too caught up in being scared about what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. They're all these things, all these factors are occupying their brain. But at the end of the day, if the grocery store closes down, you're dead in 3 days.
Yep. Well, yeah, because like that was another thing I heard today that I was thinking about. So like, everyone talks about the war in Ukraine and Russia. They talk about nuclear and whatever. So what do you do actually that's probably equally as damaging but doesn't end the whole world, but kind of ends it? You shut off electrical grids.
Well,
you don't have nuclear winter, right? You do like a cyber attack. You shut off all of the internet. Now no one can do business anymore, because like, you think about like I was born in 92, right? If you think about what happened between 2000 and 2020 for like all of our businesses going all online and on the cloud, like the cloud is like a fucking server farm in I don't even know what state. Like, I mean, it's just some fucking block of servers.
It's like an apartment building of computer. It's pretty terrifying now. And I think the worst part is like some of this generation that's currently out there, the ones that are just getting into university, they're just doing all these things now, they're just starting their lives. I don't know if it's just me getting older, but I don't have very much faith in them, I guess. Like, some of them,
I have a mixed bag on that. I go back and forth. I think on one hand, I hear your reticence, because I think every incentive is telling them to do the thing that will lead to their doom, but there's some contingent of those kids that are like, something smells weird. Because like, remember how like when we were growing up, there was that counterculture thing, right? Like, you didn't want to be doing what your parents were doing. Like, what they were doing was just wrong because they were your parents.
Yeah, Exactly.
right? So like now I think with these younger people, like they're seeing the millennials and they're seeing the Gen Xers and they're seeing the boomers. And I think they're kind of looking at it a little bit, and I think a lot of them are going to go along with the thing, but I feel like there is a contingent that's going to fall more in our sort of circle of the Venn diagram. Like I think they're getting hip. I have hope for it, and I mean I tend to be like I see that as being like a more beneficial, like, optimism is sort of better in the long run.
Of course, yeah. I try to be optimistic. I guess where I always struggle with being optimistic is I'm also very realistic because, as you know, once you grow your own food and you see how easily things can go bad and how much knowledge is needed and, a little bit of fucking luck to make that go successfully over the course of a year, it doesn't come overnight. And I just feel like a lot of folks now, they need it to happen right away. Like everything needs to be instant. And,
Yep.
Unless you're putting in 4 years worth of work at university to get some IT job, like that's great. If your thing's IT, good for you. But like, you need some more life skills than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
One stick isn't going to get you through this mess, like, and,
Yep.
I think loving your neighbor too. Like, I'm not a religious person, but at the end of the day, like, nobody knows their fucking neighbors anymore. Nobody talks to the people in the neighborhoods anymore. We have a gazillion friends on Facebook, but like 3/4 of them wouldn't even speak to you in public,
Yep.
And it's like, come on, like, is anything real? Like, what I know is real is you put seeds in the ground and I can eat them later. And that's what I'm about.
Yeah, no, like there's so much you brought up there that, yeah, like that idea that we're living in this sort of pseudo reality. There's this guy, Baudrillard. I haven't read a lot of his stuff, but he's like this French philosopher. And he had this idea that we're living in like the simulacrum, I think he called it.
Yeah.
And the idea was, okay, so the idea is it's almost like the parallel of the Matrix. And I think the Matrix might be based on this idea to a degree, the movie. So it's the idea that we've started creating so many movies and culture that we've basically created this feedback loop. So the idea is like we think reality is what we make in the movies, but that thing in the movies is actually a representation of reality. And then we start building our reality on this sort of representation we've created in earlier culture, right? So we get basically further and further detached from reality because we're attached to our sort of romanticized view of reality, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a runaway kind of feedback loop culture thing. And I feel like we're totally in that, especially when people start talking about like augmented reality and virtual reality. I'm like, you understand that like you have senses that perceive, and then when you put a machine on that, that's lesser than. That's not greater than.
Yeah.
You're having a less than experience.
Yeah.
The best experience you're going to get is you just out here screaming on this big rock flying around space at millions of miles an hour.
Like 3 inches from your face. Like,
that's as good as it gets.
Is right here. But the thing is, like, I don't know. They're just, it doesn't, I had an example there and I think I lost it, but oh yeah, no, it was the Star Trek, like the old Star Trek tech that's in there. I think he talks about that at one point with the simulacrum, that all those things that were in Star Trek that we didn't think were possible, that everyone was like at the time saying, someday we'll have that, someday we'll have that. Well, we're there now. We have all those things.
Yep.
Minus the spaceship going from galaxy to galaxy, but everything in that spaceship they were using, we have, Yep. So I think it was him who was talking about it. I think that's why that word rang a bell in my head. I could be wrong, but yeah, I feel very much the same way. We're in this, like, we're kind of stuck in like an echo chamber where the content we absorb is forced into reality, whether it should be there or not, in one way or another.
Yeah. And then here add another layer of goop on top of that, right? So like add something on top of that, right? You also on top of that you have shit. People doing that, and then Christ. No, I had something and I forgot it. No, but I mean the theme that we're kind of touched on there is the other instant gratification thing. Like the other people that are also aware of it in the newer generation, that's the other thing on selling them is the hard work and investing in something that you're not going to see. Like, it's like you have to tell them, it's like for 3 years you're going to fuck this up and do it wrong and feel like an idiot, and then like, you know, you're going to start to get it.
Yeah,
and then you'll start to feel good about it.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. It's like you go plant those peach trees in the backyard and take care of them for 5 years, and then you're going to have 40 pounds of peaches every year. And they're like, well, like I want peaches now, so $11.99 at the grocery store sounds like a better idea. But in reality, that isn't the better idea. The better idea is to have your own fucking peach tree and take care of it. Like,
yeah, no, and then that's the thing too. When you think about like how people think like, oh well, I just have avocados. I have avocados every week. I always have avocados. I have avocados on my toast in the morning. That's what I have for breakfast. And it's like, well, we live in Canada, and I've never seen an avocado tree. I tried growing an avocado in my house one time, and it fucking died because you can't grow avocados in Canada.
Dano has like a 6 foot tall avocado tree. Like it'll never put out an avocado, I don't think, because it's been GMO'd to hell. So, but he does have like a house plant avocado, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what you could do and you could get. But I mean, it's the sad thing is like so we live in this global economy. We have this rapidly expanded sort of farm thing. The problem I wonder about sometimes too is as we start to scale this back. Like, so there's a lot of countries that are really big right now that have huge populations that without globalism don't exist. And they might exist at half the population.
Yep.
So then we start thinking, like, we start scaling back globalism, there might be, like, the real effect where, like, I mean, to be dark, I mean, people might fucking starve.
Well, let's be dark then. People are fucking starving right now. And we have globalization. You know?
Yeah.
So,
but it might be the case that say, I mean, again, this is let's be a little darker. You know, 500,000 starving over, you know, 1 million is better. Where, you know, maybe it's, you know, I don't know what the actual number is, right? It might be the fact that we still have an ungodly amount of people starving for the amount of people we are feeding.
Yeah.
But then what do you do about that, right? Because that's almost like a no-win kind of thing.
Well, I think the reality of the subject is a lot of folks have to realize. I was going to bring somebody up, Jolie Ensol. Have you ever heard of her work with sun stuff like that? She was doing a lot of work with your circadian rhythm in your body and how food affects that, right? So our circadian rhythm changes in the winter because of the sun, right? Due to that change, there's certain food you can eat during the winter that will fuck your rhythm up. So you start eating a bunch of mangoes in January in Canada, where you're used to having a winter, it's messing with your circadian rhythm every time you eat that tropical fruit because it's bringing different sun energy to your body that your body doesn't want, right? We're designed to slow down, hibernate, and hunker through the winter. We're not supposed to be absorbing a bunch of extra sun energy. Anyway, I'm not a scientist. It's really fucking interesting. But at the end,
that's super interesting, that idea. Like, because like you're eating the sun kind of in a way. Because you think about a mango needs more sun than say a typical whatever we eat in this climate to grow because of the nature of the plant.
Yeah.
So and then when you think about what a plant is, it's basically harnessing sun energy, converting carbon and stuff in the ground into fruit.
Yeah.
You're eating. And because I think about like say like in northern climates you eat way more fermented stuff, fermented meats, fermented vegetables, all that kind of thing, and you got to think that has a different effect because like even fermented foods, it affects your gut biome differently, right? And you're going to have a sort. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say on the gut biome, like I was reading something the other day. We have like a countless amounts of bacteria that are supposed to be in our gut. The only issue is in that gut biome is you need to be eating diverse foods in order to keep all those bacteria alive in your gut, right? That's the theory of the gut biome. So some folks, their food sources have become so regimented and small, they're permanently ending certain bacteria in their gut biome because they're not consuming certain things to keep it alive. And when you said fermented food, we should be consuming fermented food at least once a week because it's like the superfood for your gut biome. So you think about some of these people who are, let's say, picky eaters, who it's like French fries, chicken nuggets, I hate broccoli, but I'll eat peas. And it's like, you continue down that path long enough, and other foods are going to start making you ill.
Yeah.
So,
well, and even I think about a lot of the autoimmune diseases I hear about a lot now too. And like, even I've been thinking about like my son, he's got eczema, and my wife does too. And part of that I wonder is like, I wonder if there is like some sort of, if we start like say doing an elimination diet or something like that, like maybe there's something that's a precursor that's enabling the skin to be more irritated or something like that, right? Because I have to wonder with some of our food, like it's like one of these things where like, as I understand it, and I could be wrong, but there's certain foods we can tolerate a certain amount of chemicals and that kind of thing, right? It's like this is safe, which basically means like you can eat this many chemicals, but then they don't accommodate like, you're also eating this other thing and this other thing and this other thing. And so you're stacking all these like chemical loads on top of each other where it's like, yeah, no, the little bit of plastic in this one dish doesn't matter, but then there's also the little bit of plastic in this other dish, and there's a little bit of plastic in your shampoo, and there's a little bit of plastic in your soap, and there's a little bit of plastic in this thing, and then before you know it, like you're like, oh yeah, you're eating like terminal ill like levels of plastic.
Like you just in the last year you consumed 45 Lego blocks.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like if you're not really paying attention to it, like on the regular person's diet, they're eating like God knows how much plastic. And even the thing about bottled water, like as simple as that is, like bottled water, those shitty little bottles they bottle water in, you leave that in the sun, like it breaks down. You're drinking plastic.
And then you add plastic in there. Let's talk about glyphosate then, right? You want to talk about plastic? Let's talk about straight up fucking poison that's on, in Canada, they just allowed them to put more of it on our crops because it's not that bad, apparently. Bullshit.
Well, like you ever hear that famous video? They asked the doctor, right? He says it's perfectly fine for human consumption. It only kills whatever biology. Some reporter in the audience, he says, drink it.
Yeah, he won't go near it.
The scientist is like, well,
there's also another video that's very similar that I seen one time where the doctor did drink it, but he thought that the angle he was on, they wouldn't be able to see him pouring it over his shoulder.
That's even worse. Because I wouldn't fucking drink it, but I'll pretend to.
But I'll pretend to in order to get you to.
Yeah. Well, and like it's one of those things too where, so like if you want to like give the devil his due, right? And you say for like our monocrop and whatever it does, like it fed a lot of fucking people. Like I mean, you can't say it didn't. But the problem is, right, is like you look long term, you're like, we're gonna feed all these people and create a bunch of people, and we're gonna come to a point where we can't feed them.
Well, look at the Dust Belt down in the United States, right? That's what happened there. They monocropped it to death. And there's research going on now that says the whole reason there's a desert in Africa is because they monocropped it to death. So you start looking at those factors and, monocropping doesn't help the soil. That's a provable fact. Biannual crop rotation followed by millions of pounds of fertilizers and pesticides is doing shit all. So let's be honest with each other. Like, the farming practices that are happening, sure, they feed a lot of people, but the long-term effects are going to be bad. And that's the bottom line. Like, you can't keep every time they fertilize that soil, they're killing something off in it. Every time they monocrop it, they've killed off something off in it. And they say, well, we put it back in because we did soybean. You did GMO soybean that needed another fertilizer and yet another chemical-based pesticide to get through to the point where you could harvest the worthless bean off of it to make soy milk and soy and tofu and all these non-food items that we really shouldn't be eating. There's an interesting book. I can't remember the author, but it's called The End of Food. I read it recently, and he explains that in the last 25 years, the modern tomato has decreased in vitamin A and C by almost 60%, while increasing in fiber and sugar content by 200. And that is strictly so that it can survive transport in a fucking truck. So,
all right, so I'm going to put a pin in that for 1 second because I need to have a quick puff. but then we're going to get into that more.
Listen, Jordan, I should be honest with you, buddy. My wife's about to come home from work here, and I should go.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. I understand that totally.
But we should talk again soon. This was fucking great.
No, we should totally. No, I think we really hit it off, and like I said, there's a lot. You guys have a lot of information. I'd like to talk to you guys more. It was great, and thanks for talking to us.
Oh my god, man! It was the best 3 hours I've had in a long time. No.
Well, yeah, with 2.5 there, that was pretty good.
All right, man. I'll let you go though.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. Well, so before we cut off here too, if people wants to see what you're doing, they want to see what's going on, all that kind of stuff, they want to get a hold of your product, how do they do that?
We are on all the socials, the Burley Farmer on Instagram, the Burley Farmer on Facebook, and we have our website, www.theburleyfarmer.com.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much again. It was great talking to you.
Have a good night.
You too.